Yes indeed, we are back, and I am Eddie G.
Ralphie G.
DJ Salo.
And of course, this is Yes Indeed. We still want to bring up the fact that we were formerly known as BAM LA, but that was in the past. This is now, and we're heading into the future. And
That's
yes,
right.
indeed, we are back, and it's good to see you guys.
Likewise.
Same here.
So we are excited because we're somewhat declaring this the new beginning of Yes Indeed podcast, and we're excited because we have a special guest, and the reason why I discovered our guest for today was just browsing through TikTok. Obviously, I'm trying to feed my talks. Would you say talks? And discovered this man's TikTok and the fact that he is showing us, telling us, describing us the history of obviously Los Angeles, but California on itself. And while I was scrolling and watching, some of his videos, and come to, remind me of Foo Howser. And when we spoke, I was like, "Do you mind?" He's like, "No." He goes, "'Cause shit, that's how we we're chopping it up, and it's like, hey, I'd love for you to be on the show." He's like, "Of course," he felt our vibe. We love his vibe, and Javier, aka Foo Howser, is in the house. Round of applause for Javier.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, man.
And so, yes, obviously, there's so much history, not only in Los Angeles, but California on itself. And you're able to bring that, on the Latino side or just, LA, California, on itself. But, I love, and obviously, when we doing the research on you, we were just, what would be the word on the stuff that we didn't know, knowing that we've been, I would say, all of LA County.
We've been around the block, yeah.
And just some of the stuff that you bring up and the history on itself. And one of them that kind of is my favorite is the Randy's Donuts. And the history, not only that, and when you brought up, the other giant donuts, throughout the, and so.
Yeah, no, it's funny because once I find something, man, I get obsessed about it, so I wanted to do, the story of Randy's Donuts, and then that's when I discovered that it used to be, like, that location was part of a chain called the Big Donut Drive-In, and there was 10 locations all over L.A., So then I was like, all right, I got to find all 10 of them. You know what I mean? And it's like nobody else would care about this but me. You know what I mean? So I started digging through the newspapers, like online, like newspapers.com. And I started finding like ads for the grand opening of each one. And then I hit like a roadblock. There was like 3 of them that I couldn't find. Still to this day, I can't find like the grand openings. But it's funny because doing that video, somebody hit me up and they were like, hey man, I saw your video. I've been researching the history of the Big Donut Drive-In for years, and you have stuff in your video that I've never seen. And so then we got together, like an email. He was like, he shared what he had, I shared what I had, and I kind of filled in some gaps in the stuff that he had. Mm-hmm. And then he had some ads that I had never seen. And this dude actually had like the guy that created the Big Donut Drive-In. He went on to found Puppin Taco, which was like a chain, like in Orange County in LA, mm-hmm. And it went out of business before my day, but he had
they got bought out by Del Taco.
Yeah. Wow. He ended up this guy has like home movie footage of like the grand opening of one of the Big Donut Drive-Ins. So it's kind of cool that doing this. Yeah. Me kind of wanting to fill in like an itch, like trying to find the history of this place. Ended up helping somebody else out in their research, and then now I found someone else that was as like a nerd as me about stuff that nobody cares about.
Which is a cool thing now to be. You know what I mean? Like, which is us.
Yeah.
But before we go any further, so like the first thing I was what I thought was cool was the name, right? I saw the name and I was like, oh yeah, we got something here, right? So, how did you come up with this, or what? How long have you been doing it?
Yeah.
How did you come up with it? And so, if you can tell us, that.
I mean, so the whole thing started because I've always loved history. Like the first time I learned about like California history was like like all of us in the 4th grade, we do a little mission project,
Right.
Yeah.
And I did mine on Mission Santa Barbara, and that's when I learned about the Chumash Indians. And it sounds stupid, but as a kid, when you think of like Native Americans, they only tell you about them like the Mayflower and the Pilgrims and the Trail of Tears, but you don't think about like California had its own Native Americans.
And they're always the bad guys in the cowboy movies.
Yeah. But you're never like taught about like their history. So then I found out about them. I was like, I gotta do a little more research about them. So that kind of sparked it. And then also growing up, my dad didn't speak much English, but he watched KCET. We used to watch Yang Can't Cook.
Yeah.
Foo Howser, California's Gold. So sitting with him, he'd be like, hey, come over here, siéntate, vamos a ver esto. And, he doesn't know what he's saying, but it's just the fact that you're going to see all these kind of cool places and things, And then in junior high and high school, I had really good history teachers that, didn't just like it wasn't just about memorizing dates and
what
names.
school was these?
Huh?
What school was these?
I went to, in Huntington Park, I went to Gage Middle School and then Huntington Park High School.
There you go. Shout out to Gage and Huntington Park High School.
Mr. Higby, Mr. Wolf, those were like two.
You
of
did
those.
love that.
Oh,
You
yeah.
did love that.
Yeah.
If you know the teacher's name.
Because their whole thing was like they saw that I was like curious about stuff, and instead of giving me the answer, they tell me like go look it up. So I'm like, hey, why did this happen?
Yeah.
And instead of being like, oh, it's like go look it up. So that got me going to look. And this is before. I mean, we had the internet when I was in high school, but you still had to go to like the card catalog and look all that kind of stuff up, So that's how I got started in that, and then actually I ended up going to college at UC Merced, and I majored in history, and so my focus was on world history, but it was like my thesis was on rebellion in Mission San Jose by this indigenous leader named Stanislaw. And so that's how I got into it. So, I've always, like I said, I've always loved history, but my wife, I love her and she loves me, but, like sometimes she's like, we're driving and I'm like, hey, you see this place? It used to be this or this and that. She'd always be like, don't tell me, dude, tell, go on the internet, do something with that. Because she was the one that got into TikTok and she was telling me, oh, you TikTok. I'm like, man, there's people dancing, whatever. Yeah. So she was like, no, people want to know this kind of stuff. People find this kind of stuff interesting. So she's like, don't tell me, go tell these people. So I started doing that 2 years ago, making kind of videos and kind of doing that kind of stuff. And I did one video on why there's so many Bertos, so that's why Albertos, Robertos, Adalbert, all that kind of stuff. And that video went viral. It got shared by Little Rob, and then it ended up on Fools Gone Wild. And then somebody said, "Oh, this dude's Foo Howser," and then I was like, "Oh man, that's perfect. I got to run with that, because I said I grew up in Huntington Park."
Oh, so somebody said that.
Yeah, somebody said that oh, this was Foo Howser, and I was like, "Oh, that's perfect," because I was like, I grew up in HP. You grew up calling your friends homies, Foo. Hey, what's up, Foo? Whatever. Yeah. And Hauser, because that's the homage to Hugh Hauser. It's perfect. It's because even though I tell people code switching, I grew up in HP. I still talk like that kid from HP. When I'm not in a professional setting, I don't change the way I talk. I talk how I do. And I'm so the Foo is always sort of that part of me of growing up in HP, but also honoring where I came from, where I grew up in. Right, yeah. And then Hauser is, for Hugh Hauser. But my whole thing is that I'm not trying to be Hugh Hauser because he was one of a kind, and he was the GOAT, but I'm trying to keep his spirit alive in my own way, you know what I mean? So while not necessarily imitating him, and although I have done one video where I have a microphone, kind of thing, but just kind of keeping his spirit alive, so that's my whole philosophy with videos is Hugh Hauser went everywhere that he talked about. He went there. You know what I mean? So if he was talking to you about the Cabazon dinosaurs, he was out in the desert. He was talking to you about Mount Whitney. He was always there. So that's one thing for me, is that every place I talk about, I have to go. I mean, I could probably crank out a bunch of videos just talking about places that I've never been, but there's a quote by this poet from Chicago. I think his name is I'm gonna butcher his name, Robert Algongren, I think. And he said, before you earn the right to rap about a joint, you have to love it a little. And that's the thing, is like before I have a right to speak on Randy's Donuts or Whittier Steak Corral or whatever, like I need to go there and I need to experience it. I need to smell the air. I need to taste, the food. I need to whatever, you know what I mean? Sense. And then another thing too is because I have that history background, it's kind of like a blessing and a curse, because I'm like, quote unquote, like properly trained in being a historian. So I tend to I really want to research what I'm talking about. I want to cross-reference, because there's a lot of, I could easily just grab a Wikipedia article and then just summarize it and just talk about it. But a lot of times there's conflicting information. There's things that may or not be correct. So that's why it takes me so long to make videos, because one, I have to go to the spot and I dig deep into it. Yeah. Right. That's the problem. You go into rabbit holes, man. And just all over.
So you're getting the facts when you're getting his stories.
That's what I'm trying to do, man, is try to get it as accurate as possible. And the other thing I do too is I put my references. This is from school, so if somebody says, hey, where'd you get that? It's right there. You can go look it up,
Boom. Yeah, and there actually, there's videos of him,
Yeah, I think they do reruns.
Yeah, they do reruns
here and there, right?
Yeah, he so it's a pretty interesting story. He did a video and actually, so this is how this whole thing about me making videos came up on too, is that during COVID, I started watching all of his shows, because I found that Chapman University has all his episodes online. So I watched every single episode of every single show that Hugh Hauser ever did. So I'm talking about 400 episodes of California's Gold, 400 episodes of visiting and road tripping, and there was even a show called The Bench.
I remember that.
It only had 10 episodes.
Yeah, and now you brought it up. I remember it.
And he would literally just go to it, because people say, oh, he could talk to anybody. He would literally go to a park and stand by a bench and try to talk to people as they were walking by. Problem with that was most people are on their lunch break, so they're trying to so it didn't end up working out. But and then even the specials where he he went to Cuba, he went to Russia, he so every single episode I watched it, and it's because the interesting story about that is that he did an episode about Orange, and the circle in the city of Orange. And when they came out, the president of Chapman University, that's in Orange, he was like, hey, how come you didn't come visit the university? And he was like, well, I don't know. It was, you guys were there. So they ended up having lunch. I don't know what was said during that lunch meeting, but he said, you know what? When I retire, I'm going to leave all my library to you. So he had no connection to Chapman University. Wow. There was no he was an alumni or whatever. It was just whatever that conversation that he had with that president of the university, he was like, I'm going to give you my collection. So once Hugo passed away, the entire catalog of his shows went to Chapman University, and then also he had a house out in in the desert. They called it the Volcano House. It was literally on this hill, this round circular house that he gave to the university. They ended up selling it, for money or whatever. But part of that deed was them digitizing all his episodes. So I know people, they still do reruns on KCET. The KCET YouTube channel still posts some of that stuff, but they don't have everything. But Chapman has everything.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So
where was he from? What was he from?
Tennessee.
Oh,
Tennessee.
Yeah, that's why he had that little southern drawl. Oh boy, that's amazing. It was because he was from Tennessee. He started off as like a regular news reporter, and then in the 80s he started doing these things called travel. I think it was video log, and it was short little 10-minute things in between PBS shows where he would talk to interesting people. So I remember one of the first ones was this lady that made art out of dryer lint. So literally the lint you get out of the dryer, and he talked to her for 10 minutes and he made it interesting, and then he visited her again, on California's Gold or whatever. 30-minute episode talking about lint, that's who he was, you know what I mean? He could make because he was fascinated by everything. You know, so he was a transplant, but he became, you know, a California's gold. You know, because he showed everybody the beauty of the state, the history of the state, and, you know, the interesting people and the places. And, you know, that's sort of, like I said, that's what I'm trying to do, is encourage people to explore the history that's in their own backyard, which is California, you know.
And it's so much information that we don't know. Like I say, you know, we're in our 40s, and there's still out, you know, stuff out there that we have no idea of what, you know.
Yeah.
Even some of the, you know, the spots that you were doing on your shows, like what, like really, especially Randy's Donuts and that whole chain, that whole, you know, because throughout LA I do see them, and even my kids would be like, "Daddy, is that Randy's?" I was like, "No, that's something else," you know, because they'll try to spell it out. They're like, "It's just Kindle." I don't know if you wanna.
There must be a lot of history that's gone now, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's the problem. That's the problem with a lot of this stuff, is that, you know, people don't see the value in it and saving like these old buildings. Like me, like that style of architecture, they call it programmatic architecture. So like, you know, Randy's Donuts, the Big Tamal in East LA, Tail of the Pup, you know, like those places where like the building looked like what they sold there. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I thought that was, I mean, I can go to like, where I grew up in Huntington Park, there was a nightclub called Guadalajara de Noche, and it was like a weird like bowl shape, and I was like, why does it look like that? I thought it was supposed to be like a cantarito or something, you know. And it turned out that it was an old chili bowl restaurant from like the 50s.
That's on
It's on Florence.
On Florence, yeah.
It's on Florence between Alameda and Santa Fe.
Yeah.
And so that's why I ended up finding out that, oh, it used to be a chili bowl restaurant. So it's like buildings like that style fell out of it fell out of like fashion, like in the 40s and 50s. That's when you started getting into like all the
Art Deco
and Googie architecture and all that kind of stuff. So you know, people were just tearing stuff down and building other stuff, you know. But like it's just sad, because, you know, that was a big part of the history of like Los Angeles, California, and like even like the car culture that we started, because that's the whole reason those buildings started, was because when cars became cheap, people could buy it and start taking road trips. The people were like, hey man, you know, I'm selling hot dogs. How can I attract people that are driving down the street? Man, I'm gonna build a giant hot dog. You know, instead of putting a sign, it's a big giant hot dog. You know, I used to have that all up and down. Like I said, the giant tamales on Whittier Boulevard. At one point, you could drive down the street and go to the Dugout, which was like this restaurant that had it looked like a World War I like battlefield, and like a plane crashing inside of the building.
I remember that.
And there was another place called the Oil Can Restaurant. So you can go to the Oil Can Restaurant, go to the Dugout, and, you know, the big tamal or the giant tamale or whatever, all within like 10 minutes of each other. You know.
And those places are gone.
All of them except the tamale.
Yeah, that was still there.
Yeah, one of the places is still around. I haven't done a video on it yet, but like the Citadel. Citadel used to be a tire factory. Yeah,
Yeah, it was
Firestone.
Firestone.
Before that it was Samson. That's the whole reason. That's the whole reason for like the castle motif.
Yeah.
Because they were trying to make it look like an old Assyrian temple. The bad thing for the Samson tires is that they spent all that money right before the Great Depression. So when the Great Depression hit, they ended up having to sell out. They sold it to a company I think it was called Uniroyal, and then from there, you know, went on until like the 90s when
they had like a deal where they couldn't tear it all down, right? They had to kind of like keep the outside.
Yeah, the city ended up taking over the building, and then they found the people that built the Citadel, and that was kind of the whole thing was that they were trying to preserve some of that, so that's why they kept the walls outside.
Base, yeah.
But like the inside is obviously like new, but there is some places like where you eat, where there's like old rafters that used to be part of the factory, you know, but they did like a really good job at like restoring the wall, and even some of the artwork they restored it, because they were trying to keep that part of it, you know. Yeah,
what do they call it? I guess there's some buildings that can't be touched because of history and stuff like that, right? What do they call that?
Usually it's like they're marked for like historic preservation.
Right.
Yeah, like I have a homie that also does like history videos. I actually have a group of homies that do like, I call them the history homies. His name is Aton. He has a thing called Aton Does LA, and he does all the places that are in LA that are on the National Register of Historic Places. So that's kind of how like some of these buildings get protected.
Yeah.
If somebody says, hey, you know, this building is significant, I'm gonna register it with this registry, And then that gives, I mean, it gives it a little bit of protection. You say, hey, like this place has been marked as being significant.
Right.
You know what I mean? But, you know, but the problem is, like I said, is some people don't see the value in things, you know? I mean, have you guys been to, you guys ever heard of Jim's Broiler in Downey?
Yeah, it's on Parson.
Yeah, so, you know, it's like a Bob's Big Boy now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
before that, it had been, I think it was Roy's before it was
It
Jim's.
was Royce, yeah.
So once Jim's went out of business, a car dealership took over, and there was a car dealership there. Well, sometime in the middle of the night, someone decided, you know, we're gonna tear this thing down, and they started illegally demolishing it. So somebody found out, they stopped it.
So what happened with that was the person that bought it was fighting the city because it was they named it a historic building. So he waited till midnight, and he took the bulldozers there and tried to knock it down, and then the neighborhood just came up in arms.
Yeah.
And they stopped him.
Yeah.
And he had to pay retroactive to rebuild the building. And I think he ultimately ended up losing the building to the city.
Yeah, but the good thing is that like Bob's Big Boy saw the value and like, hey, let's restore it to what it used to be.
Yeah.
We'll turn it into a Bob's Big Boy, but I mean the sign still says
Broiler.
Jim's Broiler or whatever, and you can still, you know, sometimes they still have cruise nights and that kind of stuff. Because I used to be like
Wednesdays.
like an epicenter of like cruising.
Hot rod.
Yeah.
Hot rod.
Yeah, you know, and that's the kind of like stuff that like you know, you've lost. You know, like you hear people talk about like third spaces. You know what I mean? Like they're like, oh, like people don't have anywhere to hang out anymore. It's because people are tearing it down. I mean, that's the kind of spot where somebody would go on a Wednesday night, like, you know, get together with your friends, go get some burgers, get some shakes, check out some cars. Maybe you had a hot rod, take it down there. Yeah. You know, but you know, there's not a lot of places that do that anymore. I remember when I was growing up, we used to go to Frisco's in Downey too.
Yeah.
So it's for that too. But sadly, you know, there's a lot of stuff is, you know, being taken away.
Yeah, no wonder, like, because we, my barber's in Downey, and we take Firestone, and we always drive by it, and we clown my 10-year-old Santiago, because the boys are like, dude, look at Santi, you know, because you know he's a big boy, and yeah, it has that car dealership vibe to it, you know, like the windows, the big glass windows. Yeah, and then you can see the outside of it, like so that's crazy. I didn't even know.
No, yeah, and I mean that's one of those like examples of a googie architecture, you know what I mean? Which also we don't have a lot of. You know, I used to go to Norm's and HP when I was a kid, and I love that fucking building, and did not realizing that it was, you know, like googie. I was like, oh, I like these like sharp angles and, you know, neon and whatever, you know.
In Culver City, there's Pans.
Yeah, Pans. Yeah. That's another one. Yeah, no, it's funny.
La Tijera, right? On La Tijera.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Pans is one of those places where I passed by and I'm like, I gotta stop in one of these days, and I haven't gone, so I gotta change that.
Go for breakfast.
Go for breakfast, bro.
Breakfast.
Yeah, my parents go there and they love it. They're like, hey, those pancakes, and I'm like, damn, don't just talk about it.
You're talking about pancakes right now, bro. That sounds good. And you said Norm's too.
Oh, well, that's the thing. It's like Norm's for me, man. Like, it's funny because I'm like. It's like that country song where that fool's like, I don't need this menu. You know, like it's like I go there, it's always just like bigger, better breakfast, sourdough toast, hot cakes, coffee.
Know.
That's it. Like,
you got your go-to already.
There's no, because, you know, I mean, they got, you know, like I remember when I was a kid, my dad used to get like the, you know, dinner, like T-bone steak and you know, whatever, and it was just like, you know, breakfast. So like Norm's is like comfort. It's like, you know, 2-3 in the morning.
Yeah.
And go to Norm's. You know,
my breakfast is steak and eggs.
Yeah,
Right.
no, it's good. Steak and eggs. Yeah.
I have steak and eggs every time I go.
Yeah.
Even it's at night.
Yeah. No, I mean that's the thing too, is that it's still one of those like few places where things aren't that expensive. Like there's still like, you know, you get a little value for your money. You know what I mean? Yeah.
There's actually a brand new one off of Imperial.
Oh yeah.
Like leaving Inglewood,
Imperial,
going towards LA.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it has that vibe, like the sharp, like damn. And I'm now realizing what it is, like with the sharp edges and.
There's another one
it's
too
all-
that
it
just
lit up.
opened up on Beverly and Rosemead.
Yeah.
There's still a few left.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Well, like the original one was over by where the Denny's is now on Sunset. So you know there's like the Netflix building and stuff right there.
Yeah.
Like, the original one used to be like in that area. The oldest one is somewhere in the valley, but the one in HP was, if I remember correctly, was the third one built. So the one in the valley was like the second one. The one in HP was the third one. But what's cool about the HP one, it was the first one that had that open kitchen where you can see the cooks cooking. Because that was my favorite part about going there. Is like sitting at the counter and seeing these dudes seeing the dudes just like the dude cracking eggs and scrambling and over medium and whatever.
Another spot that does that is Johnny's Pastrami.
Okay.
And then also the Apple Pan.
Oh yeah, I love the Apple Pan. The Apple Johnny's Pastrami, I don't think I've ever been to, but the Apple Pan, yeah, definitely. That's when I used to go to UCLA. I was like, I'm gonna be out there anyway. I might as well
just go to Pico.
Yeah.
Across from the mall.
Yeah.
Now you gotta go to Johnny's, bro.
Yeah. No, I've been on a pastrami kick lately, so I gotta hit up because I just went to the Hat a few weeks ago. That hadn't been there in forever, and it's funny because my wife doesn't really like the fast food, that kind of stuff, and she likes pastrami. Like we go to Langer's a lot, and like other like Jewish delis like that because we love pastrami. And that style of pastrami is different. It's like so I think someone described it one time like boiled bacon. Kind of like whatever. But so I bought a sandwich and I was like, hey, you want some pastrami? She thought it was gonna be like like the Langer's one, and then she looked at it. She was like, oh, I'll try it. She ate it. She's like, this is fucking good. Like, so I was surprised that she liked it. So then it was funny because she's never like like to see like that to like 2 days later to want the same thing. And we're like we're driving like in Riverside or something, because we've been spending a lot of time in the Inland Empire. Now we live in Whittier. We spend a lot of time out there, and we're driving back. And she's like, kind of want the Hat. And so I was like, hey, I had to look it up, and we found one out there, pulled in, and she got her fix. And so now she's a fan of the Hat.
And there's a few of those.
Yeah. There's a handful of them. Yeah.
Johnny's is like it's boiled.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Johnny's is boiled.
Yeah. There's I think they call that a LA style pastrami. It's like something that came up in like the burger joints in like LA. So that's why it's weird because we had like a lot of Jewish influences in LA, but the pastrami style is different than like the Jewish delis.
Do you like pickles?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know what it is, but the pickles there.
At Johnny's?
Yeah. I don't know if it's the way they're cut or what, but like, Jesus.
The blend maybe of the juice. But
probably the pickling.
Yeah,
they cut them pretty thick.
Yeah.
But like, bro, I never had a better pickle.
I gotta go. Yeah. I gotta check it out.
The prices are ridiculous, like hell of expensive. But like to try it, you gotta try it at least once.
I gotta go at least once. Yeah, because I went to the Hat, man. I got a T-shirt and a sandwich for like $25. So I was like, that's a good deal. You know what I mean?
Nah, right here you're gonna spend $18 just on the sandwich.
Okay.
But you gotta try it at least once.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then, my sister's always like, oh, if you're in Culver City, bring me some chili cheese fries from them. And I've had them. I'm like, fuck, these things are like the bomb.
At Johnny's, another thing too, is that they'll ask you if you want the bread dipped, or not.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because you have a Philippe.
Oh yeah, Philippe's, man. That's what I gotta represent. Yeah, no, man. Like,
and I was gonna ask you, have you ever been there? Because I've driven by so many times, and I've.
Oh no, dude. So Philippe's is kind of like there was like the debate between Philippe's and Cole's. Which one invented the French dip sandwich? So I did a video on that, and and the whole thing was like,
it's Philippe's.
The Philippe story is more believable than the Cole's one, just because like. It's funny because like the story that gets told about Philippe's is that one day a police officer walked in, he ordered a sandwich, they accidentally dropped the bread in the pan. He was in a hurry, he's like, just give it to me anyway. They wrapped it up, give it to him. I heard
that story.
Yeah, he came back the next day, was like, hey man, do that again. That's supposedly how it started. That's like the sexy story that they tell. Right. The story that they tell at Cole's, they say that it happened like right after they opened it. So I think both places opened in 1908, if I remember correctly. There's a thing about being a historian. People say it's about memorizing dates and names. I'm terrible with names and dates, man. But I think it was 1908. Cole's, the story goes is that a customer came in and he had just had like dental work, so his gums were like sore. And he told the chef, hey man, do you mind like dipping the bread? 'Cause it's kind of hard and my teeth hurt, and so he dipped the bread in the gravy, and that's how that happened. But that's like it's like an oral story that's been told like from owner to owner to owner, but there's like no like hard evidence about it. You know what I mean? The story with Philippe's, the actual story of Philippe's, is that back when he opened up, it was sort of like a traditional deli where you like bought meat and bread and that kind of stuff, but you took it away and you made your own sandwiches.
Right.
So one day somebody came in. It wasn't too busy. I think it might have been a cop too. He came in and he was like, "Hey, do you mind like cutting one of the breads and putting the meat and the pickles in there, you know, like, and then cutting it in half so I can show my buddy. And because he wasn't busy, he's like, all right, I'll do it. So he made him the sandwich, and then that sandwich, you know, became popular, and they called it a man-sized sandwich because it was really big. And then after a few years, started making them a little smaller. But that's how they started making sandwiches at Philippe's. And then the story goes is that somebody came in one day and then asked for a slice of cheese on the sandwich. So they were like, oh, can I get a slice of cream cheese? And he was like, that's kind of weird, but yeah, sure. So he put the cream cheese on it. And then the dip came because somebody saw the pan. They had, you know, the drippings in there. Like, hey, man, do you mind dipping the bread in the pan? And then he was like, sure. So he dipped it in there. He made the sandwich, and then the next 4 people were like, hey, let me get that too. and that's how it started. So, but it was like in steps, you know. So it wasn't like some like magic eureka moment. It was like it happened in like steps. And the only reason I say that story is more believable is because there's a newspaper article, like an interview with Philippe Mathieu from like the 50s, where he talks about that. Yeah. And he tells the story like that, but he never tells you like, oh, it was in 1918 or whatever. He just says, oh yes, one day somebody did this, you know, whatever. So that's why that one's more believable, because there's some firsthand account of it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But as far as like which one's better, it depends on like I prefer Philippe's just because like Philippe's is open like longer. They open really early in the morning. If you've never been to Philippe's for breakfast, yeah, it's awesome. The biscuits and gravy, the pancakes are really good. But Philippe's is open more hours, and would I get like one drink and a sandwich at Kohl's, me and my wife can both eat sandwiches and things at Philippe's, you know?
Where's Kohl's at?
Kohl's is in it's in the old Pacific Electric building. It's like I want to say it's Main Street, Main and like 5th or something like that. I don't know.
It's still in downtown.
It's in downtown, yeah, but it's just like more in like downtown proper, you know, yeah. But that one is more like they open at 5. The dip there is more like, I would say like more gourmet. Like the bread's it's a little bigger. The cut of the meat is a little thicker. Mm-hmm. But you can get like an old fashioned or, you know, that kind of stuff there. But, you know, both of them have their own, like, they're good in their own right. You know what I mean? But for me, just because I've been to Philippe's more, and because I said, like, you know, sometimes I want a French dip at 10 in the morning. They're open. I don't have to wait till 5 o'clock. You know what I mean? But
that place is always packed. Like, it's insane, you know, the line that.
Yeah, especially like it's a tradition for people to go there before Dodger games. So you'll
always see people with jerseys
if you go there on game day, forget it. You know, like, you know, that's the spot to go.
It controls the pedo and the bread.
It sucks it up.
Really tasty,
it sucks it up. Okay. Yeah, but definitely like if you haven't been if you say you've never been, I'd say definitely go. You want to avoid the crowds, go in the morning so you can get the breakfast. Like I go there, I'll get like a dip. Like my go-to has always been like the pork, but lately I've been into the lamb. The lamb with blue cheese. especially because they that's the only one that they cut right there when you order it, because everything else is already pre-cut. But when you order the lamb, they bust out the lamb shank and they
wow. Yeah. Fuck, dude, we're gonna fucking gain some pounds just by you know by this episode. I was gonna say that. So, how do you go based on what is it like? You'll run into something like, let's say you'll see a building. It's like, you know what, let me, you know, check the history on this, you know, building. Let's say it's a building, or do you, let's say, open up a book and be like, oh wow, this is interesting. I can do this from one of my videos.
Yeah, no, it depends, man. Like a lot of the ones that I've done pretty early on were just things that I always wanted to get to the bottom of, you know what I mean? So like the first video I ever did was there's a park in Whittier they call it Dead Man's Park, but it's called Founders Memorial Park, and it's like, it used to be a cemetery, and then they turned it into a park.
It's not MacArthur Park?
Nah. Yeah, they turned it in. It used to be a cemetery, and they turned it into a park, and the thing is, there's still people buried there, you know what I mean? Right. And so I found that out when I moved to Whittier, and I was like, I got to dig into this history, so I started digging into that, you know? But there's certain things that I've always been obsessed with. So one of them.
Where's this park?
This was in Whittier. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's in Whittier. It's like I guess it's like a little northwest of like Uptown, I think. It's in like the older part of Whittier. But you know, there's like certain things I'm obsessed with. Like I'm obsessed with like programmatic architecture. So that's why I've done videos on like the Big Shoe in Bakersfield, the Cabins on Dinosaurs, you know, because that's just things that I've always been obsessed with. So I'm like, I'm gonna do this one now, you know, whatever. But yeah, sometimes I just come like I have a lot of books that I've bought. So sometimes like just reading them, like the video I did on bakers. I have this book called Made in California that talks about all these like restaurants that were founded in California. And that's when I found out about bakers. I had never heard of bakers. Bakers is only like people that live in the Inland Empire, because it's only in Riverside and San Bernardino. They know about bakers. I had never heard of it until I read in that book. And once I read like the guy Neil Baker was like almost like 3 degrees of Kevin Bacon, kind of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon kind of thing. Because this dude, like Neil Baker, was like, his best friend was Glenn Bell, who went on to found Taco Bell. Ed Hackbarth, who founded Del Taco, used to work for Neil Baker. Neil Baker helped the McDonald brothers build up the restaurant after they moved it over to San Bernardino. John Gallardi, who founded Wiener Schnitzel, he worked for Neil Baker.
So it's all
you know, it's like all like interconnected, kind of cool. That like, and the thing is that like all these places, you know, can trace their origin to like the Inland Empire. So it's like what makes the Inland Empire so special for like fast food? You know what I mean? And then
because that's the home of McDonald's, right?
Yeah, McDonald's, Taco Bell, Del Taco, so Bakers, they all started there. And then like to a certain extent, like so like I mean, Wiener Schnitzel started in Wilmington, but Gallardi worked for Glenn Bell and Neil Baker, you know. But the whole thing is that like that interconnectedness was like fascinating, you know. So then I was like, all right, now I gotta go try Bakers, and I tried it, and it was good. I like Bakers, you know. And the funny thing is that he never grew out of like he kind of briefly like opened up stores in LA.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Like all the others were able to come to LA, but Baker's is like over there.
Yeah, it's over there.
In Bakersfield.
Yeah. Like his whole thing was he was afraid of flying. He was like claustrophobic, so he wanted to keep everything kind of close. So he did open stuff up in LA, but then he ended up closing them. So now it's just literally just San Bernardino and Riverside, and he's, you know, I think they have like 38 locations, and he was very happy to just stay local, you know. But I mean, if he wanted to, it could have been as big as Del Taco or, you know, Taco Bell or any of those places, because he was the first one that innovated that like twin kitchen. They call it the twin kitchen. So you know, like, you know, you used to go to Carl's Jr. and had a green burrito, so you could get like burgers or like Mexican food, or like, you know, Del Taco, you can get a burger, but it's just like one type of burger. And then Taco, his whole thing was like, you can get Mexican food or you can get like American food.
Yeah, like now you can get Taco Bell and KFC.
Yeah, exactly. But
Pizza Hut.
Yeah. So, but the funny thing with him is that when he first did that, he had 2 windows, one window for Mexican and one window for American. So if you wanted a burger and a taco, you had to wait in line twice. Yeah, so he was like, I got to change that because people were getting upset, you know. But yeah, just things like that, man. I come across things reading or, you know, driving by somewhere, and I'll see a building and I'll be like, oh man, that looks interesting. I wonder if there's like a history to that. And then just start digging into it, and then that's how I end up finding the places. Or like sometimes people like suggest things to me, and you know, if it's close enough, you know, I'll look it up. I have a long list of places that I want to hit up that are kind of far away, but like I said, I need to go there. So, you know,
do you strictly stick to Cali?
Yeah, strictly California. Although, like I said, in the spirit of Foo Howser, you know, he went to Russia, he went to Cuba. I just got back from the UK.
Nice.
So I filmed a couple stuff over there. So I'm gonna do like little shorts, like maybe like a minute of like a couple places that I hit up in the UK.
Nice.
So I'm working on those right now. I'm hoping next week I'll start releasing them.
This was your first time out there, or you've been out there before?
No, it was my first time. Yeah, and we drove, like we took a road trip. Like we landed in London, drove to Cardiff, Wales, went to Bath, went to Liverpool, went to Edinburgh, up to Inverness, over to Newcastle, and then back to London. So we were just, and you know, it was kind of like, it was for my, because I turned 40 like last week.
And happy belated birthday!
First birthday, And it was also my wife's birthday, so.
Oh, shout out to your wife!
So you know, so we took that trip for, you know, to celebrate both our birthdays and, you know, the big 4-0. So it was kind of cool. So it was like a mix of things that I wanted to do and things that she wanted to do, you know. So she's she's a big fan of the show Outlander. It's like this takes place in Scotland, so we had to go to a lot of like the places for her. She likes Downton Abbey, so we went to like the Downton Abbey place. And then for me, like Liverpool, I'm a big Beatles fan, so we went to see all the places where the Beatles grew up and all that kind of stuff. I'm obsessed with the Loch Ness Monster, so I had to go look for it. So,
you got a T-shirt of
it? Oh yeah, I got a pin. I got the whole thing. And then also like I'm a big Newcastle United fan, so I got to go to a game. So that was pretty awesome. Cool. Go to the game and
take it to a stadium. How did you become a Newcastle fan?
It's funny, man. I had a hernia surgery back in 2006.
Oh, me too.
And
same here.
2021.
Yeah. So I had the hernia surgery.
2012.
2006.
Oh.
Yeah. So I had the hernia surgery and I was recovering, and my wife bought me FIFA, like for PlayStation 2 or whatever. And all I know is like MLS and like Liga MX, So I was like, I'm gonna try one of these English Premier League teams. And I already knew like, everyone likes Manchester United, everybody likes whatever. I'm like, I gotta pick my own team. So I'm going through and I was like, oh, Newcastle. I go, I like Newcastle Brown Ale. That's how I ended up picking them. And then I started like, actually like following them, getting into the history of the team. And I was like, I'm like, this is my team, because it's one of those teams where like they were really successful like in like 1908. You know what I mean? So you can't be accused of being a bandwagon fan.
Yeah.
And then ever since I've been a fan of them, they got relegated twice. They've come back up. Now there's like investment in the team, but right now they're like in 7th place. So it's still like the team's on its way up.
Yeah.
But it was great because they won 4-0 when I went. So
it's almost like and we had mentioned this on a couple of episodes ago about Wrexham. Now they have their own TV show, and it's Ryan Reynolds and the guy from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
like they're co-owners, and like that whole, and it's they were like in the 2nd division, and the first year they were just like getting blown away, and it's like the little stars would get picked up by the big clubs. And they're like, how is our team supposed to win when they take our best player? Like, fuck. But now I think they end up winning the cup for the second,
I think they've done back-to-back promotions. So I think they're like two levels below the Premier League now. Yeah. So they've back-to-back promotions is hard to do, cool, from one division to another one. But yeah, that's cool. That's the thing, is that's how the culture over there is just different. Like watching a game, because I'm a big LA Galaxy fan, so I go to Galaxy games, and the atmosphere is different at an English game, because it's weird because like you can't drink in the stands.
Oh, you can't.
Like
hooligans, bro. The hooligans.
Yeah, exactly.
They get you crazy, bro.
Because this is recently, or
this is so
it's been forever.
They stopped this because of the hooliganism.
Too many deaths, right?
Yeah, and I think it was like the Middlesbrough disaster. I think where it was like a stand that collapsed and a lot of people died. So that's why they were trying to avoid people standing and like jumping, whatever. So you get to the stadium. It's kind of cool because the whole city's like walking towards the stadium, and people are drinking beer on the way there. And then you get to the stadium, and then you go into like the tunnels, and then people are just sitting there drinking because they have signs saying no alcohol beyond this point up into the stands. So you got to pound, in the tunnel.
Yeah, that's my kind of walk.
And then you walk up into the stands, and then it's I went to they call it a tráfico, LA Galaxy and LAFC last year, and the Rose Bowl was like 95,000 people.
Yeah.
52,000 people at Newcastle were louder than the 95,000 at the Rose Bowl. It was just like, loud. But the thing is, once the game starts, everybody sits down. And people are cheering and, chanting and stuff, but everyone's sitting down. And then when the ball starts coming closer, then they stand up. So it was weird. It was like a weird. My wife's like,
it's like they're letting the players actually play without
because we're used to standing the whole game. When we go to Galaxy games, we're standing the whole game, and so it was kind of weird to just like kind of sit there, and you're kind of into it, and you're reacting to the game. You know what I mean? So it was cool. And like I said, they won 4-0, so it was awesome. It was an awesome time.
Did you guys come across any other Latinos that were supporting Newcastle, or?
It's kind of hard to tell, who's a Latino or not. But it was kind of cool though, because when I did the tour the next day, there was a guy from Indonesia, and he was like a Newcastle fan from Indonesia. Wow. And they were asking people like, oh, where you from? And then he's like, oh, in Indonesia. And they're like, what's your connection to Newcastle? He's like, I just started watching them one day, and I'm a fan, and now I'm here. you know, and that I was like, that's awesome, you know, that, you know, he's been a fan for like 20 years, you know, and he decided he was going to go to Newcastle. But yeah, when I was over there, we did run into like, you know, you could hear the Spanish and you could tell it was Mexican or, you know, from some other place. Because actually they do have a lot of Mexicans in London. Like there's a lot of Mexicans. Now there's actually like legit Mexican food run by Mexicans in London. It's funny because I've seen TikToks of these people that live there, and it's funny because they talk English in a British accent, and then they switch it, so they're like, oh yeah, governor, what's that? No, y luego la cosa. That's what they're like, wait, what? Because they're like straight up like just a really thick British accent, and they switch into Spanish, and it's like flawless.
Yeah, it's like when I first met this guy. Like, I could swear I thought he was Mexican. And then when I heard him talk to his dad, I was like, what the fuck? Where you from? He's like, I'm from Uruguay. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? All these years, I'm over here thinking you were Mexican. Like, no, fucker. Like, I'm Uruguayan. But that's crazy. Now, funny that you bring that up. So, let's say, like, those Mexican restaurants owned by... Like the spices and all that stuff, does it get shipped over there, or is it?
Yeah, you know what's funny? Like my wife lived in Finland for a bit, and I went to a Mexican restaurant in Finland that actually had like it was like owned by a Mexican, and all he had was like la costeña, like jalapenos and like things like canned stuff like that. I didn't go into any of the ones in London. I've heard that people are like, oh, you know, they're like legit, but like I tried Chinese food and Indian food in England, and it's different than our Indian food here or whatever, because they, you know, because they cater like to like the palate, you know what I mean? So obviously like the Indian food is not as spicy as it would be like here, because over there, you know, they can't take the heat that well, or whatever. The Chinese food's a little different. But yeah, no, like a few years ago, it was really hard to get like cilantro. I remember my wife telling me like her trying to get cilantro in Finland was like a mission, like trying to go through like the black market and, you know, kind of stuff, you know, because I would send her like a packet of like a box with like maseca and like tapatio,
smuggling
yeah, a little care package, and then she was trying to make like, you know, guacamole over there, and it's like the avocados are from like the Netherlands, you know, so
that's
it's
how
like
it is in Uruguay too. Like I went with my wife, and you know, she needs spicy. You know, she needs hot sauce, and dude, we had to go to like 2 hours drive to the centro, and all we could find was Tabasco. Yeah. You know, and like there's no hot sauce, bro, because they don't use it. They
don't do it. That's what somebody told me. They're like, if you're gonna go, make sure you bring some tapatio with you.
Yeah.
and I
Costco packet.
No, I tried like the local stuff, you know, the traditional whatever stuff, and it was good, but I was like, it needed like spice. So after a while, I was like, all right, I'm done. I tried the traditional stuff. Now I'm gonna try like the Indian food. I'm gonna try the Chinese food. I'm gonna try. There's a place in London, or it's in England. It's called Nando's. It's like a Portuguese, South African kind of restaurant. That place is spicy. Like that I didn't even get like the spiciest thing, and I was sitting there sweating. And I was like, all right, this is good. This is good.
Legit.
Yeah.
Cool. That's why they're saying that like World Cups are not only because of the game and the different countries, but how everyone has the traditional foods all around like the stadiums, or you know. And I know this family, I think they're from Guadalajara, like they literally go to every World Cup and they sell tacos, and and it's like, that's crazy, you know. And like, and I'm like, how do you transport your little, troquita, your little cart, your cart, but I'm sure they have their ways. And then you do see, and the what do you call them, the reporters are literally walking. They're like, there's Mexican, Chinese, Italian, from everywhere, from all types of countries.
I tell my mom all the time, it's like, start a fucking taqueria over there in Uruguay, right? Like on the beach, because she lives 2 blocks from the beach. I said, in the summertime, go make some tacos. They're gonna, like, start it up. They're gonna get it.
We'll send you the spices.
Is there like a Uruguayan restaurant that you would recommend here in LA?
There's Uruguay is a lot like Argentina.
Okay.
They're like
it's a lot of carne, like
a lot of meat, stuff, barbecue. Yeah, it's basically the same.
Okay.
So if anything, it's gonna be an Argentinian restaurant. But there's a couple, El Gaucho. Buenos Aires. You know, just it's a lot of barbecue.
Yeah, okay.
Buenos Aires is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to, there's a place out in, I want to say it's like, I don't know, La Puente or something. It's like Tito's something. It's like they have like empanadas and like milanesas. It's like an Argentinian spot. They have
Milanesa
like, oh, dude, milanesa there is yeah.
That's my favorite right there.
I didn't know about them until him. Oh yeah, milanesas. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, no,
it's carne battered. I'm like, what? Why the fuck would I want to hide my carne?
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah,
it's good. No, just dude, it's milanesa and then a fried egg on top with some mashed potatoes or French fries. Fire, bro. It's fire.
Bandeja paisa right there, bro.
I'm telling you, dude. I'm up 5 pounds already just listening.
Fire.
But even the stuff he cooks, you know, like the what do you call them? The who always clown you?
The choripans.
yeah.
Like, and I'll tell my sister, my compa is making coriquicos. She's like, what? I don't know.
Hey, but everybody likes it.
Bomb, yeah.
Like they'll tell me, hey, we're gonna barbecue. Do you mind making some choripans? I'm like, nah. You know, because I'll make the chimichurri sauce and all that. You know.
Nice.
So people love that.
Yeah.
Because like over there, you go to the soccer game. You know, here they sell
the hot dogs.
The hot dog. Over there, it's that. Choripan.
Yeah. Why don't you open up a choripan cart?
I should.
You're like competing next to the bacon wraps.
Yeah.
Este cabrón, ¿quién es? Tú date de pa' allá, boluda.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did a couple episodes. We pretty much went out and ate, you know, and talked about the foods. We did a sandwich review. We did when the Popeyes chicken sandwich was going crazy. We went and did the Popeyes, KFC, and Chick-fil-A, right?
Chick-fil-A.
Oh, the hot chicken sandwich.
Yeah, and then we did tacos, and so, you know, obviously, pretty much we've been talking about food. That'd be awesome for us to, you know, start it because we still want to do it. We still want to critique food, and go out there, obviously have a drink. And
I have a great idea. You haven't been to Johnny's. We should take you to Johnny's.
Yeah, let's do it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just hit it.
Yeah, it's a thing we used to call. Well, we still call it. It's called munchies.
Nice.
Munchies
So
night.
we just hit a couple spots and then, you know, whoever tells us, hey, go hit this spot. Like a lot of mom and pop spots that a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah.
Let's go hit those. See what it's about, right?
Yeah.
You know, and then we give our opinion. Hey, this is great, or it's all right. You know, but.
Yeah, that's the one thing for me. I was saying that, like, I've done a lot of restaurants that people are always like, oh, that food sucks. I'm like, I'm telling you the history of the place, man. I'm not giving you a food review. Right. Because you're like, oh, I had that place and I got chorro. I'm like, I'm sorry that happened, man. But that's not what I'm talking about.
I'm just talking about the building. I'm not talking about the food.
You know,
Yeah.
Like, I didn't tell you to go eat there. I told you, you know, when it started.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, you know, everyone's trying to, like, you know, be like, oh, well, I'm like, dude, I'm like, trying to just to shine a light on the history,
right?
You know, bring a positive, you know, because that's the thing that's the thing that like kind of makes it all worthwhile for me. Because you know, I mean, like for a while I was like obsessed with like numbers, you know, I'm like, oh, how many subscribers, how many whatever, and then I stopped worrying about that and just doing the thing, you know, and then all that other stuff just kind of came along, you know, and but the best like feedback or the best thing for me is when someone's like, hey man, you know what? Every time somebody talks about my city, it's only negative. And thank you for like bringing some positive light to like my city, or you know, we've always been proud of that spot, and thank you for letting like more people know about this spot because we're really proud of it, you know. And that's the one thing is like, I try to do that because you know, and I try to be like I said as truthful or as factual as possible because people are very like proud and protective of these places. You know what I mean? Like in Whittier, like I did a video on the Steak Corral. And that place has been there for decades. It's like people that grew up eating there take their kids, their grandkids now, you know. And
when you actually went in there and
I
was looking at the food, I was like, fuck, dude, like that shit looks so good.
And the thing is that like the it's inexpensive. You can like steak dinner for like $20, you know, with a salad and potato and all you can drink, you know, soda or whatever. But it was cool because the daughter of the guy that runs it was like, she hit me, she found my video on TikTok. She said, "Hey man, thank you for, my dad works really hard. Thank you for giving him some recognition, you know, because he's been working it for like 50 years.
Yeah. He's
know
Latino,
I mean?
right?
He started there as a busboy. Yeah. And that's one of those spots where like they don't make owners like that anymore. You know, like the guy that founded that restaurant, all his employees started from the bottom. He promoted from within.
And
all his
original,
managers.
Sorry, the original owner was white, right?
Yeah, his name was Bob Byer. Yeah, and but all his managers were people that worked for him for a long time, and so he made this dude a manager, and then actually like he had a couple spots and they all closed down. He ended up with like two, one in West Covina and the one in Whittier, and then they turned the West Covina one into a Norms, so it's a Norms now and one in West Covina. But it's cool, if you go on Google Street View, you can still see when it was a steak corral, like in 2005 or whatever. Wow. Still says steak corral. But when this dude was getting ready to pass away, he left it in his will like that as long as this fool wanted to run steak corral, it was for his to run. So you know, it's like, what other job can you where you're like, one, be at a place for 50 years and then have your boss like actually recognize your hard work and be like, hey man, you know what, you busted your butt for me, here's my reward to you. You know what I mean? Like, you get to keep running this restaurant until you say it's done. Right. You know, they don't make people like that anymore. You know, so it's cool. It's cool.
It's crazy. It's crazy you bring that up. My son, my oldest son, Andrew, since he was 5, he did Taekwondo. And we put him in Taekwondo because he had a lot of anxiety issues, right? So somebody told me, put him in Taekwondo, you know, put him in some kind of martial arts. So we did that. So he's been with his master till now. So his master, like, he's like, he wants to retire. So he's like, little by little, like, just, you're running it. You're running it. He's hardly even there anymore. He's like, it's all you, bro. Like, do what you want. It's you. It's you. It's you. So, like, he wants to give it to him, but my son is kind of like, I don't know if I want that responsibility. Like, I got to live up to his standards. I want to do things a little bit different. I'm like, hey, if he's giving it to you, that means he trusts you. Like, you know what you're doing. Hey, give him do it. Like, he's honoring it to you. Like, you've been with him since you were 5, and he's willing to give it to you. That means something. Right? So he's like, I'm thinking about it, you know, like, but we'll see. But
that's cool because he sees, you know, he saw the dedication. And he's like, I'm gonna reward that. You know what I mean? So like I said, they don't make. It's rare to find someone like that. You know?
Now it's like, oh, that's the son or the daughter, and they own.
And he has kids.
They keep the business, and they can give us two shits about it. You know,
they don't care. They don't care about it. You know, and he knows that they're just gonna sell it.
No, that's the thing with, like, you know, like places like that is that a lot of times the kids don't, you know, and also the parents don't want them to go into that either. Sometimes, you know, they're like, oh yeah, this is
the struggle.
It's the struggle. I don't want you struggling, you know. So it's cool when you find places where someone's been there for that long and it's like generational kind of thing. You know what I mean?
What would throughout your you know, adventures in historical spots that you would say it started by the family and it's still owned by the family and it's still there, you would say? Or not like much?
Family? No, I'm trying to think, because the thing is, I mean, like Philippe's, the family that owns Philippe's now has owned it since like the 50s, but like it wasn't, you know, it's not the family that started it. But ever since they moved to where they're at now, because they moved like 4 or 5 times before, they've been running it since like the 50s.
What were they, Italian?
No. So the Philippe Mathieu was French. So that area of
that's what the French dip.
It was like the Well, that was the thing, that they don't know why they call it the French dip. They were saying that it was either because he was French, or it was because they called him Frenchie, or, you know, I forget what the other, or because, you know, the police officer's last name was French. That's why they called it like the French dip, but they still don't know like which one. I'm assuming it's because he was French. They called him Frenchie. That, oh yeah, like the French dip, you know, whatever. But yeah, like there's a couple places that I know, like in East LA, you know, like Allen B's, like that was founded by the family, and I think it's run by their son or their grandson, and that place has been there for like 60, 70 years. Oh wow. You know, it's a family business. Like they literally started out in front of their like house, and then it turned into, you know,
what do they serve?
They're famous for their bean burritos, the bean and cheese.
That's how I believe the hoagie places.
Oh, in Venice?
Yeah,
Have
Venice.
you ever been there? Yes.
Great West. You like hoagies?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Great Western hoagies.
Great
Oh,
Western
yeah.
Hoagies.
It's on LinkedIn.
Lincoln, bro.
Is it kind of like Busy Bees in San Pedro? You ever been there?
Yeah.
Like that kind of like.
It's a little joint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, this joint is so small, bro.
Yeah. Those are
pass it up.
Those are the best places, man.
Bro,
Like we went there and it was 3 of us and it was already packed.
yeah. It's that small, bro.
Yeah.
It's tiny.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
3 of us fit in there, and it's the cook, the dad, the cook, and that's it.
It's like get your sandwich and get out.
Yeah,
pretty much.
It's tiny.
Yeah, because we ate in the parking lot. We were
that's
grabbing
cool.
on the sandwiches
That's
and
cool.
we're
It
just
looks like one of those. I don't know if you remember the little houses that used to make keys.
Oh yeah. Like a little
That's
shack.
small. It's a
Yeah.
little shack.
Yeah.
literally a shack.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
Little hoagie shack.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I mean,
right on
that could be
corner.
another spot we can go.
Yeah.
with.
Yeah, that could be round 2.
yeah.
And they were so sweet when we showed up. Like
Bro, we
they saw
showed
the
up.
camera. They're like, "What do you? Oh, we do.
Yeah.
We're doing. YouTube. Oh, what? So they're talking to us.
Oh, yeah.
Gave us a deal too, and they were just chopping it up. He was
They
like,
let us
"Oh,
slap
Yeah.
stickers.
No,
and
yeah.
everything,
That's
dude.
the thing. That's the thing about like, I mean, yeah, I've covered like I said, like I've covered some kind of big places like Baker's, whatever.
yeah,
But then also like Steak Crowd's like a small mom and pop place, and those places are like, and you really like museums. Like I love going to museums, and museums like I work in a corporate archive, so we got resources, but like museums and archives, like those most of the time they're like one person gets paid and everyone else volunteers, So when I go to those places and I'm like, hey, I want to do a video on your they're like, oh, dude, please, because they're so appreciative because they're like, hey, like this is getting eyeballs on our like museum, on our collection, and that's the thing I try to do in my videos too. Is I always try to reach out to like places to use their pictures or whatever, like they have a collection, like I know that they have
it has a
whatever
story.
yeah, and that's
There's a story
and
behind
but
it.
not only that, also like it gives them like let people know, hey, well, that picture like is at the Whittier Library. Oh, maybe I want to go and see what else they got there. You know what I mean? Just kind of give more eyeballs to that place. Give them like free promotion, kind of thing. Because they're helping me out. I'm using their pictures. I'm using their their resources. Yeah.
That's cool.
Have you been to the library in downtown?
Oh, that's my favorite place to go to, man. And that's like telling about my history teacher in the 8th grade, Mr. Higby. Our field trip was to the Central Library, and we took the RTD there. So think about like 38th graders hopping on a bus,
Yeah.
and then going to the Blue Line station, and then transferring to the Blue Line, and going all the way to downtown, getting off at 7th and Metro, and then walking to the library.
See, that was when back in the day you can just jump on the bus with your classmates.
Yeah.
And your teacher too. I mean, you they don't do that. You can't do that.
Yeah,
anymore.
no,
can't do
and that was and that was his way of like showing us like, hey, like, the city is yours. It's like open to you. You don't have to just be in HP and like South. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's like trying to expand. Like, hey, you know what? If you just hop on the bus and go 15 minutes that way, and then hop on this train and go 20 minutes that way, you're like in downtown LA.
Explore a little bit.
Yeah, you know. And I remember walking in there and be like, dude, this place is 7 stories high, dude. Like four stories down, 3 stories up.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, like that. That's one of my favorite places to
Do
go
they
research.
allow drinks there? Do they? Oh no.
No, nah.
I think you're talking about the wrong library.
Dude,
bro.
Yeah.
you want to turn everything into a
No,
party?
I think you're talking about the library bar. There's across the street from the
see.
library.
Oh,
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Got them wrong. But I think that's like for instance during our graffiti days we were West Side guys, but because of the graffiti we were able to travel to the valley.
Mm-hmm.
Outside
We're
of,
able to get out of the hood, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And came across awesome people from out there, and obviously joined a crew from the valley. And not only that, but from the valley we would go to Highland Park because they were throwing a flyer party, and that's how we end up getting into raves and undergrounds and parties. And like how you were saying, like fuck, it was literally a freeway away from getting to those spots, and came familiar with the 213 or the 32 or it was only 213 back then.
It was only
Yeah.
213.
Yeah.
Then it was 310, 323.
323.
Yeah,
666,
so
blah, blah, blah.
that's why they were like, oh man, like you
562.
guys know-
562.
Yeah.
you guys know so much. Like, yeah, because we were just fucking, obviously.
We're out and about.
You know.
Yeah, no, it was funny you bringing up the graffiti. Like, one of the history homies, her name, she goes by Doña Junta. Her channels, her page is called Swap Me Chronicles. And she used to go tag, and while she was doing
she has. So we'll make sure we'll we'll try to shoot her.
Yeah, she used to tag, and as she was going to these buildings, she would end up being like, man, this building looks really cool, and then that's how she got into like doing the research on these places. So now she does she really likes a lot of like the mid-century kind of architecture, but at the time she didn't know what it was. She just knew that she liked these buildings, and so she would be like, like being up there and looking, man, that building's interesting, and that's how she turned that into doing research on these places, and what I like about her is that she like digs in the history of like buildings that nobody really like gives us like a second look at, you know what I mean? Like she did one on an apartment building in HP. She's done two posts on apartment building in HP. Both of them I passed my entire life, never knew, whatever. And then she's like, oh, this apartment complex was built in 1950 by this architect, and it's in this type of style, streamlined modern or whatever. And I'm like, man, like all my life, like passing these places, never realized that they were historic. You know what I mean? So it's pretty cool that, she got that bug from going to these different buildings. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Wow. We'll make sure we shout her out and anything that all her socials. So talking about the history, talking about I don't know you just said that you're a LA Galaxy fan. How are you about the Dodgers?
I mean, that I like the Dodgers. I know there's a lot of controversy with.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna bring up.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing with, because they call it Chavez Ravine, but it was actually like neighborhoods like La Loma and I forget the name of the other places, but it was it was the whole thing of like the city kicked these people out of their homes because they basically said, oh, like these buildings aren't built to code, they're not really permanent structures, people are here like we're gonna tear it down because we're gonna build affordable housing. That's how they sold it. They were like, we're gonna tear it down, we're gonna build affordable housing, and the people that live there are gonna get first dibs on the new places, and it'll be good. Yeah. A lot of people didn't leave. You've seen the pictures of the sheriffs tearing people out of their homes. They never built that apartment that housing. They never built it.
Right.
So then when
So was it that the main idea to build that home?
So that was like the excuse to get these people out of like
that was the sell.
That was the sell. It was and again, I haven't done too much like deep research into it, but I'm just kind of like the gist of what I've seen and I've read from other stuff. Like, is that they were told that they were gonna build new housing, they were gonna get first dibs at it. This was during like the, like the whole anti-communist kind of stuff. So anything that was like, oh, we're gonna make stuff affordable and social, whatever. It's like, oh no, that's communist, or it's like whatever. So a new city council or a new government came in. They're like, we're not doing that anymore. So then the land was just vacant, and then here comes I forget the name of the owner of the Dodgers. So I'm gonna move Walter O'Malley.
Yeah.
And I want to move the team over to Los Angeles. So like, oh, we got a perfect spot for your stadium, right up there. And so that's why people are upset, because it's like the people were never properly, paid for their homes. They were promised that there was going to be housing that was going to come, and it never came. And then they turned around and basically gave the land to the Dodgers to build the stadium. Mm-hmm. So there's like stories of like
but they weren't pulled out to build the field.
No. So it was because of this this housing that they were going to build, but the Dodgers benefited from it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so there's like, if I remember correctly, there's like a elementary school that was from the neighborhood that's buried underneath third base. Wow. So like the stadium's literally built on top of these neighborhoods. Uh-huh. So that's why people, it's that conflict of being, people that are like Mexican and Mexican American here in LA that know that history and be like, oh, that's fucked up, but then they're also Dodger fans. There's a lot of people that have that sort of like conflict within them, to know what happened, during that time, but then also, Fernando Mania, you know, all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
That's why I wanted.
Yeah, we have a homie like that.
We have
like F the Dodgers.
Yeah.
You know, they fuck my people over.
Yeah.
You know.
No, and like I said, that it's understandable because there's people that like, you know, I mean, it's because the thing is, again, when you talk about history, people think it happened so long ago. Like, this is people's like grandparents.
Yeah.
And like parents that were ripped out of their homes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
This was in the 60s, right?
I think it was in the 40s, if I remember correctly. Cause
but Dodger Stadium was built in the 60s.
In the 60s, I think. Because
so
the Dodgers moved over here and they played at the Coliseum for a bit.
So we're talking about what, 15, 20 some years after they were.
Yeah, there was a time of period between when they were they were removed from their homes and then, you know, the stadium was built. But that's the whole thing that people are fighting for, is like, hey, like, we've never been properly like paid. We've never been properly like the restitution for what we lost.
Right.
And so that's what I'm trying to say to the Dodgers, is like, hey, like, even though they might not have been the reason why the people were removed, they benefited from it, and they continue to benefit from that land. Mm-hmm. And so they're like, hey, you know, just have some restitution for what happened, you know. And so I perfectly understand. Like, I'm not like a huge Dodgers fan. I go to games here every once in a while.
Yeah.
I have a Dodger hat, you know. But I can understand why people are upset about that, why they feel that way, because it's, you know, if you have family members or people that, you know, like I said, because it's recent, if you have like relatives that lost their home to that, yeah, of course, you have every right to be upset about that.
Yeah, but it's like you're like, you know, caught in the mix. You know, I was like, how can you be a Dodger fan when this happened? But it's like, but then I don't want to sound fucked up and be like, that wasn't my family. You know what I mean? It's like como dices tú, like, we understand. You know, we understand why you're upset. You know, but.
No, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that, you know, some people don't even know that happened. You know what I mean? So it's like a lot of people that are Dodger fans, they have no idea what happened there. They just know that the team moved from Brooklyn to LA, you know?
And it's funny that you say that, because maybe all three of us were sitting here, you know, because that's all we kept hearing. Oh, you know, this happened because the Dodgers wanted to move in, or it's the Dodger or Walter O'Malley's fault that all these people got kicked out. But we're talking about what, 15 some years.
Yeah, like I said, I'm like, I haven't done a deep, you know, into it, so I'm just like kind of saying what I kind of vaguely remember. But I know that it was because of this like housing thing, that basically they wanted to clear it out by any means necessary. You know, they just didn't want those people living up in that area, because it was valuable land, and, you know, they kind of felt like they were, like, you know, quote unquote undesirable people that lived there or whatever, you know. So the premise was that they were going to build new housing. That was, like you said, the sell to like get them out. And then, you know, once that plan fell through, the land was empty. Dodgers needed a place to build a stadium, and then that's how it came about. So it wasn't necessarily that, at least I don't think that the Dodgers said, hey, kick these people out and so we can have a stadium. It happened in these sort of steps.
That's what I thought it was.
And it just happened.
Me too.
I thought it was that.
Yeah, and it just happened that, you know, I said, like, the Dodgers benefited from that, you know, and they continue to benefit from that. So, like I said, I understand why people are upset, you know, but I also understand why people feel conflicted, because, you know, like the Dodgers represent the city, you know, you bleed Dodger blue, but then you also feel, you know, for what happened in the past, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And the Chavez Ravine, that's what the town was called, or what?
Well, so they call that area Chavez Ravine, but like the neighborhoods had names. So like the only one I can remember off the top of my head is Miraloma, but there was like 3 or 4 neighborhoods there. So the people that say, oh, like, don't say Chavez Ravine, like, say the names of the neighborhoods, because you know, to remember the neighborhoods that were there that were lost. But like I said, I don't remember the other names. I know for sure Miraloma was one of the neighborhoods that was there.
That's crazy. See,
yeah,
something new. Foo Howser, you gotta check him out. Check him out on his TikTok, man. He's there. He's live, and
he knows his history.
He knows.
He knows his history.
What is like, out of all the spots you've been to, do you go in there and have, like, you know, for instance, if it's a restaurant, or it's more just talking about it, you know, from afar, or do you go into these spots to, you know, get something to eat?
What do you mean, like just regular spots?
The spot that you're doing the, like.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, every single spot I go to, I gotta eat. Like it's the whole thing of like, before you can, I said like before you can rap about a joint, you gotta love it a little. You know what I mean? So it's like, how am I gonna talk about bakers and not have a burger and a taco? How am I gonna talk about the French dip and not have a French dip? You know what I mean? So every place I talk about that's a restaurant, I gotta eat there at least once or twice. If I'm talking about, like I said, like a particular building or whatever, I gotta go. If I can go inside of it, cool. If I can't, just from the outside of it. But it's always just having to like try to experience it as much as possible, because in that way I can talk about it. Because I feel like I can't talk about a spot if I've never been to it. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of like, how can like I said, I don't know. It's like faking the funk. You can't fake the funk.
What's one place that you've been that when you got there, you realized that you didn't know everything about it, and then all of a sudden you're learning more stuff about it just by people that are there?
Well, one of the coolest places I've been to is Boonville, and that's up in oh my God, what's the county? It's like, oh man, I'm forgetting the county, but it's like up in like the central part of the state. And I went there because Boonville used to have its own language called Bootling. And so I had done a little bit of research about it, but not like too in deep. And so I was like, I'm going to go to the museum and go find out, And the language basically came about because that town was so isolated from the valley. It was like in the Anderson Valley that people there's like 3 theories about how the language came to be. But like my favorite one is that there was a girl that got pregnant in the San Francisco Bay, and her parents sent her away to Boonville, to have the baby. So there was like this scandal, And in Boonville, they used to grow hops for beer. And so the women used to pick the hops in the fields, and they wanted to gossip about her, but they didn't want her to know that they were talking about her. So they came up with like their own words for this stuff.
Oh shit, like peg leg, no? Or what's the pig Latin?
Pig Latin.
Yeah, something similar like that. But like they had, so a lot of people that were there were like Scottish. So the Bootling has like words from like Scottish, from Spanish, from the indigenous people from there. So like for example, like sheep was Brago. That was the word for sheep, and Brago was because borrego, right? So borrego turned into Brago, or boo is potato, and that's because that's what the Native Americans called potatoes was boo. So they had their own like kind of language. So, my favorite word is burlapping. They have like 100 words for like sex, and so my favorite word is burlapping. And supposedly the story came is these dudes went into the store and they couldn't find the owner. And then one of them was like, let me check the back. And he went in the back, and the guy was having sex with his cashier in the back on top of these burlap sacks. And then he comes out, he's like, hey, was he back there? He's like, oh yeah, he's back there burlapping. And that's how that word came about. So I only knew like a few kind of words and whatever. And when I went there, it was like, I went to the museum, and they were so happy that I was there. It was like a whole room just dedicated to the language. They had all these books that I could like take to like to do the research. They have a brewery there that still uses Bootling words for their beer. Yeah, so they have like the
you got
the
me
beer.
right there.
Yeah, it's called Anderson Valley Brewing, and they use like Bootling words for like their like locations. They use it for their beer. So they have like Boot ale, because that's what they call the language. Bootling is speaking. Bootling is like harping boot or whatever.
Yeah.
And then going into the brewery, like they knew we were from out of town, and then they were like, oh, you guys just passing through, and I was like, no, this is the destination. And the girl's like, what? Why'd you come to Boonville for? I'm like, I came here to harp boot. And she's like, you know about Bootling? So I was like so happy that I was there to to tell their history. And
is that where bootlegging comes from?
Nah.
Because it's fake or faking the language.
No, yeah, like so Bootling is because it's the combination of Boonville and lingo. So Bootling, that's how they came up with it. But yeah, they're like some dude in the 60s, he did a whole like dictionary of like all the words in Bootling. Unfortunately, now there's only like 30 people that speak it like fluently. They actually used to teach it as a second language in school, like in the 20s and 30s. They actually said that the men that went off to fight in World War I, they had to relearn how to speak English because they were so used to talking Bootling that when they got into like the army, they couldn't communicate with people.
What the fuck is this guy French?
Yeah. But then once the war ended and they came back, the highway started getting built, so they became less isolated.
Right.
People started leaving. like people lost interest in trying to like speak the language. So now I think it says maybe like 30 people that still speak it. Although now the high schoolers are starting to get interested in trying to like revive it. So now they're starting to like have like clubs to like learn how to speak, and they have people that speak Bootleg to still come to like to talk and that kind of stuff. So that was one of my favorite places, because I thought, oh, I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna see like, maybe like a little thing about the language. It was like a whole entire room, all these books. The museum creator was like, telling me about, the Bootleg words and showing me all this kind of stuff. So that was one of my favorite places where I was like, oh man, like this place is awesome.
So being from LA, how did you know about that spot, or what made you?
Yeah, you know what? What's funny is as I was trying to figure out where I found out about Bootleg, and I thought, oh, maybe Foo Howser went, whatever. And then I looked it up, and I was like, he never went there. Oh. So I think it might have been like something I came across like in like Atlas Obscura or something like that, where they were talking about this town with a secret language kind of thing. Oh, okay. And then that's when I put it on my list. And one year, my wife and I we did a road trip for our anniversary, and we went all the way up to Humboldt County, and that was one of the stops along the way. And she was kind of like, she said, oh, we're going to go to Boonville. She was kind of upset, but she ended up loving it, because it was like the museum was, I thought it was going to be like a tiny one-room thing. It was like huge. It had like 4 rooms dedicated to different things of the history. Wow. The town was like nice and little, like, little charming little town. Yeah. The brewery people were so like friendly and kind and everything. So she ended up loving it, because that drive into the valley was beautiful. It's like, it was all snow. And then once we got up to the top and got into the valley, it was just turned green. Oh, and so it was awesome. It was, one of those places like a 2-lane highway, it was like small. Yeah.
And you just been there once? Or
just once. Definitely want to go back though.
And like on your videos, I'm guessing your wife is a part of it. She's records and helps you with the whole.
Yeah, she's the Louis to my Foo Howser. I'm always like, oh, get a shot of this, Louis.
That's her. That's right. You would mention. What was Louis? What was this?
Yeah, Louis was his camera guy. Yeah. So
what nationality?
Oh, he was his last name was Fuerte. So okay. I think he was. I don't know. I was Latino, but I don't know what he was. But yeah, he'd always. He was like his longest.
Or he'd be like, check it out, or like something crazy would drive or walk by. Yeah. He'd be like, look.
Yeah, he'd always be like, get a shot of this, Louis. Yeah. He was like his longest serving cameraman, and I think he was with him for like decades. And then he ended up getting like, he had like 3 cameramen like during this time, but Louis was the one that was with him the longest. Wow. And then he had one guy in between, and then the last guy that worked with him until he passed away. Yeah.
I would like to say they did an homage to him in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. But I would have to. I gotta dig into that. I gotta look.
You know what's funny is that the Simpsons did a parody of him. So they had a I forget what the guy was called, and he was the same thing. Like he came out in the back of a pickup truck. He's like, oh boy, he was like doing all that podunk kind of stuff. And then I guess he saw that, and he was like, why didn't you ask me to come do the voice? So then they ended up having Foo Howser on The Simpsons. And he did one of those like how they're made. Remember, like how candy's made. So he's like, oh, today we're gonna explore the mysterious world of candy. Oh boy, and he's like, doing the oh my god, like in the cartoon version of it. So it was kind of cool that he ended up.
To look it up.
Yeah, he ended up doing a cameo on The Simpsons after they made fun of him.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm gonna have to, and I watch it because of my kids. Cloudy. Which part is it, or where?
The cameraman.
Oh,
bro, it's the cameraman.
I'm about to check that out because my kids are that and Hotel Transylvania. It's like because it gets played like constantly, and I'm like, so I'm about to check that out. So when we first started, you mentioned the fact about the name Bert and how Little Rob. Mm-hmm. Did you? Can you tell us why there were so many Berts?
So there's a book called Taco USA by Gustavo Arellano, and he tells the story in there. And supposedly, the way it goes, the way he told it is that so the first restaurant that was opened by Roberto, he opened a couple restaurants, and then like by the 5th one, his wife was like, "Why don't we name it after you?" So he named it Roberto's, Mm-hmm. And so he opened it, and he was like so successful that he would like bring people from his town in Mexico to come work at his different restaurants. And supposedly the story goes is that he had some cousins that wanted to open up a restaurant using the Roberto's name, and so he let them do it. But then he felt like they weren't following his instructions, like, oh, you got to make a fresh batch of beans every day. You got to make, rice fresh. You got to, like things that he sort of implemented in his restaurants. He felt like they weren't doing that.
Yeah.
And so he told them either follow what I'm telling you or like stop using my name. So they're all right, cool. So they changed it from Roberto's to Alberto's, and that was like the first offshoot, And then that restaurant became even more successful than Roberto's, and they started bringing more people in. And as they brought more people in, those people broke away, and then wanting to keep them, because if you notice, all of them are like the same color scheme, the same kind of lettering, whatever.
Even the same character.
Yeah, so they all just started kind of like breaking off from there, and that's how you ended up with all these different kinds. And everybody, the menu is kind of the same across all of them, but everybody kind of like does their own kind of thing. And so that's how I ended up like, it went from that to all the other ones that you have right now, So now you have like, the big ones are like, obviously Alberto's is still big. Roberto's is big in San Diego and like Vegas. And then you have like the funniest one I've seen, I think was called Poliberto's. Because I saw so many, like Gilberto's with a J.
I've seen that one.
Adalberto's, just Albert's. There's one in Pico Rivera called Albert's, so there's just an R and an S, not a T. Yeah. So supposedly that's how it happened, is that they broke off because he felt they weren't following what he was telling them to do, and they kind of just did their own thing, and then from there just kind of splintered out.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's kind of like the Michoacana.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's like it's like that, like the Michoacana. Yeah, there's.
It's the same family or no?
No, it was like different people. Like, I mean, I've just scratched the surface on that, but yeah, it was like a lot of people just basically like taking the name and same color scheme, same whatever, but there's one like original Michoacana in like Mexico, but then when they're over here, like the trademark laws were different or whatever, so that's why they just started kind of expanding. And then now people they change the name and they don't even call it La Michoacana, they call it something else, but they have like the same color scheme,
I've seen that,
everything.
Yeah.
I think there's one down here too, right here off of Olympic. I think I saw one.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Now. They're everywhere now. Yeah.
What else was I gonna say? So you mentioned the fact that you do this, but your profession is you're a historian or
archivist.
Yeah, and obviously I wouldn't know what that is, but I just know that ART, art.
Yeah, no, I mean it's basically like archivist is sort of like a librarian, like librarians, they work with for the most part books and like other kind of like things like that. An archivist usually works with like in like the physical world, like an archivist probably works like at a museum or a library. They're usually in charge of like rare books or special collections, like like the stuff that you find in the museum, on exhibit. But where I work at is all files, so it's like it's all file based. So it's like we're in charge of the of the database where all these files go into, and we're the ones that put those files into the database. We maintain the database, but it's the same theory. Like if I was like working in a library, or a museum, it's just that instead of being a book or a lamp or whatever, it's a file.
It's a file.
Yeah.
So back to the foods.
Well, how do we always end up on foods, bro?
I just recently saw the McDonald's movie. How accurate is the movie?
Talking about the founder?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's some there's some truth into it. Like he Ray Kroc did. He was working as a milkshake machine salesman. He ended up like finding out about these brothers. That he's like, why do these fools have 14 mixers? Or 15 that they were buying. And so he went there and he had never seen anything like that. Like you order your food and like 10 seconds later it's there. So these fools developed that. They basically invented fast food. That's what they did.
The rapid system.
Yeah, the speedy system they called it. Go. Yeah, and so it was funny because people were coming over and they wanted to see what they were doing, and they're like, "Dude, we know what you guys are trying to copy us. That's fine. Come in." They would let people come in and see their stuff, and they eventually started franchising. But what they were doing was they were franchising the system, not the name, McDonald's.
Or the land.
Or the land. But it's funny because the first few McDonald's were in, like, I believe in Arizona, and the guys used the McDonald's name, and they were like, wait, what? He's like, oh, it's like, fine, it's McDonald's. So they're like, oh, okay, so then they opened up the one in Downey, which is the oldest one operating. I think it was the third one franchised, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it on Firestone?
It's on Firestone and Lakewood.
Yes.
Yeah, because like I said, my barber and I take Firestone all the way down, and my kid's like, Daddy, look, a hamburger, a McDonald's clock.
By the way, I think that's the only one that you can actually go and get a fried apple pie.
Yeah, that's the only one that deep fries them. Yep.
Really?
Yeah, because everyone else bakes them. That's the only one you can still get it deep fried. I mean, up until recently, they didn't have a drive-through. It was still like old school, like the old McDonald's where it was a drive-in. You drove in and you walked up. But after I think they franchised something like 10 restaurants. I think only like 5 of them got built. And then the guy that was their franchise agent, he had a heart attack and he had to retire. So that's when Ray Kroc was like, hey, I want to kind of get into this franchising thing or whatever. So the first McDonald's that he franchised was his McDonald's in Des Plaines, Illinois. And then from there, that's when he kind of started, like, edging the brothers out, And eventually he bought them out, And the thing is, the McDonald's brothers, they weren't, like, greedy. They were, like, very, like, like, they enjoyed their business, but they weren't trying to be, like, all these kind of multimillionaires. But they had always wanted to be millionaires, They're, like, so when he bought them out for, I think, $2.7 million.
Yep.
And it was because that $700,000 covered the taxes, so that each of them got $1 million. And then then he took that over, and then that's why for a long time, when they told the story of McDonald's, the first McDonald's was the one in Illinois, because that was the one that Ray Kroc started. Because there was a difference between the McDonald's restaurant and the McDonald's Corporation.
Right.
So the first McDonald's Corporation restaurant was the one in Illinois. The ones that the brothers franchised, or the ones that they had, they didn't count in the history of McDonald's. And the sad part is that they couldn't use the name McDonald's anymore. So they changed the brothers. So they changed the name to the Big M. And then he opened up a McDonald's like down the street from them, and then he ran them out of business. Yeah. And then actually Neil Baker bought the property, so again Baker, like he bought the property. And then now the site of the original McDonald's is a museum. It's like an unofficial museum, but it's also the headquarters of Juan Pollo. Because the Albert Acura, who just passed away last year, he was a huge fan of like Ray Kroc and the McDonald's brothers, and he's like, I need to own that place. So when it came up for sale, he bought it. He's the one that put in the museum in there, but like on the property, he had like his like headquarters for Juan Pollo. So if you go in there, there's like a little section of like Juan Pollo memorabilia there, But yeah, that was the whole thing. But in the movie, they said they had like a handshake deal that they were supposed to get a certain percentage of like future sales. I've seen a few interviews with one of the brothers, Richard, and I've never seen anything where he mentions that. So I don't know if that was like an actual thing, but supposedly there was a handshake deal where they were supposed to get a certain percentage of all future sales, but who knows? It was a handshake deal. You can't really prove it in court. Yeah.
So is the movie based on Ray or the McDonald brothers?
No, so it's a movie about Ray Kroc. That's why it's called The Founder. Oh, okay. Because they were upset about that, because they're like, dude, like all of a sudden this fool's the founder. We're the ones that we're the McDonald's. The name is McDonald's. Right. His name is Ray Kroc. How is he the founder? But it's just that once he took over that, he elevated himself to basically rewrote the history of the company and said, hey, I'm the founder of the McDonald's Corporation, and the brothers kind of got written out of that history. But recently, people have started wondering about like when the movie came out, what the history of it is and everything, and that's why the McDonald's spot in San Bernardino is a museum now. The Downey McDonald's, they were gonna tear it down a few years ago. The conservationists saved it, and McDonald's put money into restoring it. So now there's like a little museum there too.
It's a mini museum.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to stop by.
Yeah,
after a haircut,
get some apple pie. Well, since you're around there, you gotta stop.
Yeah, you gotta get an apple pie, man. Yeah,
you gotta get an apple pie.
Now
you won't be disappointed.
Obviously, we're talking about McDonald's. What's the deal with the clown? How did that came about? Ronald.
Yeah, I know that the original Ronald McDonald was kind of scary looking. But I'm not too sure. Like I only dug into the history as far as it concerned California. You know what I mean? Once they started like adding like Big Macs and Happy Meals and Ronald McDonald. I don't really know beyond that.
Because their first character was Patty, right?
Yeah, I don't remember.
It was just a giant. It was just a giant burger.
Oh well, the chef, Speedy.
Yeah,
the Speedy dude. Yeah,
yeah.
That was their first mascot, and then once they took over, yeah, they wanted. I guess it was during a time when they had all those clown shows like Bozo's the Clown and that kind of stuff. So they're like, oh, we need a mascot, and they ended up coming up with Ronald McDonald. But yeah, he was kind of scary.
He was scary.
Yeah,
he was scary for sure.
It's like the first Mickey Mouse. Like Jesus Christ, like that thing is.
Well, yeah. he needed some polishing.
Yeah.
So, obviously, I don't know if you want to mention any of your future, projects, or is there something that really interests you on trying to, get the history and the information?
Yeah, I mean, right now, like I said, I just went to the UK, so I'm gonna put out a couple. They're gonna be short little clips of like places that I went to in the UK, because I said it's cool because Hugh went to Russia and Cuba, so whatever. So I'm gonna throw a couple of those, but other than that, I mean, there's so many like plates and spinning and whatever, because there's so many spots that I want to hit up. Like, I haven't really done too much in Orange County, so I kind of want to do like a couple spots in Orange County. There's this tree that's I guess was supposed to be like the inspiration for like the Robinson Crusoe thing at Disneyland. That kind of has like an interesting history. There's also I'm really obsessed with like animal farms too. Like so like there was one, like I did a video on the lion farm in El Monte and the ostrich farm in South Pasadena. So there was a place called African Country Safari in Orange County.
I remember that.
And that's where they built Wild Rivers and the amphitheaters. I kind of want to do something about that. And then what was the other place I was? And then like I grew up in HP. We had 3 movie theaters. We had the Pacific, the California, and the Warner Theater. And there's only one still standing, the Park.
On Pacific Boulevard.
Yeah,
right?
there's only one standing. That's the Park. The California Theater, they turned it into like quinceañera stores and that kind of stuff. And then the Warner Theater.
All you see is quinceañera stuff.
And the Warner Theater, they turned into a gym. Oh. So I kind of wanted to do like a video on the history of those 3 movie theaters, because at some point, I mean, that cities having 1 theater is like, 2 theaters, 3 theaters, like within like a block and a half of each other.
Yeah,
wow.
That was unheard of. You know what I mean? So. And they were like, like the Warner Theater was a Warner Brothers theater. The California Theater was a Fox theater. Yeah. So they had like premieres of shows there, of movies there, So, growing up there, I just knew that I can go and watch a movie for $2 before one, But yeah, I kind of want to dig into that a little bit. But yeah, there's a lot, there's so much stuff, man. I'm never going to run out. Even if I just stuck to LA, man, there's so much,
Even I heard you, like theaters you can't, bring down no more.
It depends.
I heard something like
that.
Yeah,
it depends if it's like the one in the Warner Theater. I mean, they gutted it. They there's still some stuff that they like preserve, like parts of the ceiling and things like that. But there's still like there's gym equipment in there. Now.
Yeah.
That's why you see a lot of like theaters that turn into churches.
Yeah.
And stuff like
that. Yeah. Like they report like the $1 Million Theater.
Yeah. We were talking about that one.
That's a sad one.
Yeah. Yeah, or the one, the Olympic Auditorium.
Yeah.
It's a church now, but they had a lot of like wrestling and boxing matches that used to happen there. I mean, I'm happy that the buildings are still there at least. You know what I mean? I mean, it'd be cool if they were still used as. And they occasionally like the LA Conservancy does screenings at like the $1 Million Theater and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool. You can still go watch movies there, but. I mean, I'm just glad the buildings are still around, man, because we live in a world where people just want to tear things down.
Yeah. Well, when you talk about el tráfico, I went to Sports Arena to watch wrestling. Like I was telling you before when we spoke earlier, I'm a big wrestling fan, and I remember seeing WWF at the Sports Arena, and seeing it, go down. It's like, fuck, dude, or I will see. The BMO Stadium, and I'm like, damn, the Sports Arena was right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, man, like, it's awesome, because like I said before, stuff that we didn't know, like, fuck, are you kidding me, dude? Like, So about Randy's Donuts, do you think it's the best donut?
I mean, I would say it's the best donut. You know, it's pretty solid. I mean, it's good. Yeah, it's a good donut. I mean, I did a video where I went to all the remaining big donut spots and I tried just the glazed donut, and all of them were good. Actually, my favorite one out of all of them was probably Kindle's because it was like really big and like fluffy.
That's the one on Century, right?
Yeah, that's the one. Well, is that Century or is that?
Because there's a Kindle's on Century.
Yeah, I think. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't Kindle's. It was is it Donut King number 2? No, I'm trying to remember now. This one's off of Alondra and which one is there? There's
Alondra Paramount.
There's like it's right over the bridge because there's Kindle's, which is the OG one. There's Randy's. There's Donut King number 2. I think it's called Dale's Donuts. Dale's Donuts in Compton. That was my favorite donut out of the glaze.
And Kindle's were the founders, right?
Kindle's was the first spot. Yeah, that was and it's cool because they still say donuts with a hyphen, DO hyphen nut. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm telling you, I've gained maybe 10, 15 pounds.
Just talking about food.
Just talking about food.
What's a spot that you used to like back in the day that's no longer there?
Ooh. Damn, that's kind of hard.
Blockbuster.
Oh, dude, yeah.
You have to bring them back, right? I bring back Blockbuster.
I could still remember the smell of Blockbuster, man.
Right, that dirty carpet.
Yeah, no, yeah, I mean,
popcorn.
Yeah, definitely like Blockbuster. There was a video chain called 2020 Video that I used to go to.
I still have my card for Blockbuster and 2020.
Yeah, I still have my Blockbuster one. Not my 2020 one, but I used to go to 2020 Video a lot. There was you remember there was a store called El Tianguis?
Yeah.
I used to have one in HP. I used to love going to that spot. That spot doesn't exist. I wish the Tianguis was still there. And then I grew up going to Pick and Save. And Pick and Save does they big lots, but there's actually a Pick and Save in like an actual Pick and Save like on at the one that says like on the border of Whittier and Santa Fe Springs, and it has like the old signage and everything that says Pick and Save. Woolworth. When I was a kid on Pacific, there was a Woolworth there. I used to love going there because they still have the counter where you can get like food.
Yeah.
The counter and stuff. Yeah, Woolworth is definitely a spot that I wish was still around because I just love going in there and just the smell of the popcorn and the hot dogs or whatever they're selling there, and then you can go downstairs and buy a parakeet. It was like they had everything there.
Because it was the one we knew was in downtown.
Yeah.
There was one in downtown. Yeah.
Gemco. Remember Gemco?
Mm-mm.
Fedco.
Yeah. I remember that.
Gemco was like if Gemco was here now, it literally would be a Target.
Yeah.
They do everything and anything. They had a huge section where it was just food. They had a huge section for electronics and clothing. I mean, you buy tires. It's basically what
Walmart and Target are now.
Yeah,
it's cool.
what they are now.
Because that one became Fedco, right?
Zodi's. Remember Zodi's?
I heard of Zodi's. Yeah.
Zodi's is another one that was exactly the same way.
Yeah,
they were competitors.
Yeah, when I did the video on Sears in Bow Heights, people were bringing up like Zodi's and all that kind of stuff. Like, I used to go to this other store. Yeah.
There used to be one right there in Mid City, right?
Yep.
By Zodi's, by World on Wheels.
Yeah, it's tore down now, but parking lot's still there.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny you bring up the Sears building. We used to do a club right there off of Temple. Remember?
Yeah.
And we would always check out the building. Yeah, we could see it. Like, dude, that's a badass building.
Tower.
Yeah.
And I was like, has that building ever been open or?
It's a distribution center.
Yeah, it was Amazon before Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they used to do like that was like the distribution center for everything west of the Rockies.
Because I remember that book was this big.
Yeah, like if you order stuff from the Sears catalog, like
chances are
it came from there. Yeah, because they had them all over the country. Like there was one in Tennessee that they did a really cool like retrofit of that. It's like apartments and like food hall and all that kind of stuff. Cool. So they did that. So that's what they were trying to turn this one into like that was the initial plan, and then now they want to turn it into like a like a place for like resources for like homeless people, but people in the neighborhood were like, we don't want that here. So that's all I was gonna do. But it's kind of sad because I mean that building is huge. Like when
it's massive.
When they closed the distribution, I mean just the retail part of it was 2 stories, but that place is like 5 or 6 stories of just nothing but empty warehouse space. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's, how you became a Newcastle fan. That's my thing with football, which I'm a Dolphin fan. And everyone was like, how the fuck you're LA? Because I'm Dodgers, Lakers, you know, Kings, Sparks. But they're like, and then in football, it's like Miami. And so, you know,
exactly the same thing with me. It's like I'm a Buccaneers fan, right? I've always been a Buccaneers fan. Way since like '93.
We still had the orange logo.
Yes. Yeah. They actually had the swashbuckler.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, yeah, okay, everyone started hopping on the bandwagon with Brady came on and all that stuff. And they started, you know, they won and all that stuff. But I've been a fan forever, and I've always been pretty much the only person anywhere that's been a Bucks fan. Now all of a sudden people are on the bandwagon and stuff, and you know, it's funny, but
I mean, it makes sense, you know, because we didn't have teams for a long time. You know, when I was a kid, I mean, all my friends were Raider fans, so I like the Raiders, you know. Then now my wife's like, oh, well, there's teams here now, and I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't work that way. I told her like I can't be a Charger fan because you know it's like AFC rivals, you know. I have no connection to the Rams because when the Rams were here, the Rams played in Anaheim when I was growing up, and there was like no connection to the Rams, you know, for me. So I'm like, it's like now I'm like, you know, I'm still, even though they're in Vegas, you know, I mean, I'm not a hardcore fan, but I'm still like, oh yeah, you know, I like the Raiders, you know, but it's because of that. That's why there's so many people that became, you know, Niner fans or, you know, whatever, because, oh, well, we don't have a team here, but it's still in California. Right. So, you know,
you got Broncos and Steelers. I'm like, what the hell? It was a variety.
Yeah, everybody gets, I give people a pass because we didn't have teams for a few years, you know what I mean? So,
But during my love for the team, I would get that book, and I kid you not, the thing was this huge, and it had its sports section, and I would get, you know, hoodies but the times I've ordered stuff, and I was little, my mom, comprame, you know, este suéter. I kid you not, out of all the times that I bought something from that book, nothing fit me. So I was like, either it was too big, no, the majority of it was too small, because I would get like a large or whatever. And I would put it on. I was like, fuck, dude, like, this shit does not fit me. So I could never guess the sizes. So that's why I had hatred for that book. And Sears. But I love Craftsman because I used to get all my stuff from Sears.
You can still buy Craftsman.
Yeah, from Lowe's. Well, that's crazy, man. So, other than you know, your stuff from have you... other than Europe, have you gone to any other countries?
I mean, you know, Mexico, obviously.
What part? What part
my family's from Michoacan, Michoacan, Jalisco, Baja, and then other countries. I've been to Finland, Sweden, the Netherlands, Germany,
been to Amsterdam?
Belgium, Luxembourg, Italy, France, and then now Scotland, Wales, and England. Yeah.
You smoke?
No.
Oh, good.
No, the Ronald Reagan drug free is the way to be.
That hardcore dairy representative.
That worked on me, man. Yeah.
So all the stuff that you mentioned where you traveled, I'm guessing the pins that are on your jacket is.
Oh, so these are from California, but yeah, when I was over there, I got a bunch of pins from all the places I went to. You know, so. It was kind of cool. My favorite pin I got over there was a Newcastle one because I went to the stadium tour, and the lady was like, "Oh, you came to the game yesterday?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Here." She gave me the pin, and it was like a pin that like says like Newcastle versus Tottenham, like April, 13th, 20. It was for the
like
game.
A game pin?
And it was like a pin that only like employees or people get like that, so it was pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, but then my second favorite one that I got over there was a Nessie one. It was like a little circle one that says like Loch Ness, Loch Ness like investigation unit or something, and it's like a little,
that's funny.
Like a little Nessie, yeah. But no, yeah, the ones I have right now, I just swap them out. But I got like the IE, right here, I love IE, and the hat is for One Love IE, because like I said, the Inland Empire doesn't get enough respect for what they contributed, you know. And then just everywhere that I go, the Cabazon Dinosaurs, the Grand Central Market, I kind of collect the pins, and then after I wear them for a little bit, I swap them out and start putting something else on there.
And you have one of the which today, come to find out that's the California bird, which I didn't know.
The California quail. Yeah, it's the state bird.
State bird. See, you know something new.
Yeah, the only two things I know is the state bird and the state flower, the poppy, because we have a state. There's like a state fish. There's like a state tree. There's like there's a whole bunch of different.
I didn't even know that the poppy was a state.
State everything.
Flower.
Yeah.
And the state bear. California is the California bear, right? The state bear. It's on the California flag.
I think that if I remember correctly, that bear is extinct.
Oh, really?
We hunted it into extinction. Yeah,
the black bear, right?
The California grizzly, the one that's on the flag, whatever it's supposed to be. Yeah,
you're right.
I think someone spotted one not too long ago.
No.
Yeah,
that'd be cool if they did, because that's happened when things that they thought were extinct, actually end up fighting us. That'd be cool if
and I know I see that you have a Bigfoot. Do you believe that there's a Bigfoot out there?
I mean, like when I was when I was a kid, I was all into all that stuff. I like to believe them. There's stuff out there that we don't know. You know what I mean? But I mean, most likely, it's a bear. People are mistaking, whatever. But there's stories that go back to the Native Americans. That they talk about, some hairy men in the forest.
It's crazy because, like I was, when me and him spoke earlier, I told him how I dropped out in '92, and my worst subject was history. And obviously now, I love the History Channel, I love Discovery Channel, and I'm into history. And I was like, fuck, dude, this is something that they were trying to teach me, and I hated it so much because the textbook was this big.
And off the textbook.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck this, you know what I mean? Just hated it, And then obviously now watching, these shows, and now, I kid you not, there must be at least 5 shows about Bigfoot. Bigfoot, the hunt, and these people they have drones, hidden cameras, and I'm like, and not one time I can you get a visual of what
I think. I think Bigfoot's just naturally out of focus, dude. I think that's what it is. I think he's just permanently out of focus.
I'll put it to you this way: if they did catch him, the season would be over.
Yeah, that's true. Right. Yeah, you got to keep it going.
You got
because
you got nothing else to talk about.
Exactly.
You found her it's pretty much I also like Ghost Adventures. I like his his shows. It's cool.
They show history
different
too.
And they talk about the buildings or the sanctuaries or the hospitals, and I'm like, fuck. And who was there, and who passed away, and why they're haunting.
Yeah.
And that's so. Yeah, I'm just so obviously the scary part about oh shit, something touched me, and they add more to it. Oh shit, did you feel that? Or look, I felt like a cold breeze, and I'm like, are you? How about ghosts?
I say I'm a skeptical believer. Just because I don't know. We don't know. No one's ever come back from the dead and said, hey, this is what happens over there. But if you believe in the science behind us, we're made of energy, and you can't destroy energy, so that energy's got to go somewhere.
Right.
When I was a security guard at night, I had a lot of things happen to me that I can't explain, but it's one of those things where it's
where were you a security
at the studio where I work at now.
Oh really?
Yeah. And
I did see where you felt the breathing on your neck.
Yeah. And just things like that where you can't people would be like, oh, this place is haunted, and I go look over there, it's a raccoon. You know what I mean? So I was that kind of person. I'm gonna go investigate, but I had certain things happen there that I can't explain. So that's one of those things where it's was it a ghost? I don't know, but I couldn't explain, what that was, But it's that whole thing of I don't know what I don't know, and until someone comes back and says, hey man, it's the ghost of Harry Houdini or whatever comes back. It's like, oh yeah, man, this is a thing. You know what I mean? It's just there's so much stuff that we don't understand about the universe and things like that. So I'm a skeptical believer, as far as Bigfoot, it'd be cool if he existed. Chances are he probably doesn't. But I just think it's cool that, the term Bigfoot came from California. So that's why I got Bigfoot,
See, there you go. That's another thing we just found out today.
Yeah.
So, what is it, Sasquatch?
Yeah, well, yeah, like the like Sasquatch is like I think it's like an indigenous word for it. Yeah. But the whole thing with Bigfoot came because, and it turned out to be a hoax, but there was some dudes up in Humboldt County that were doing construction, and one day they saw these giant footsteps in the mud, and then they took the cast, and the newspaper was like, oh, Bigfoot spot, Bigfoot monster, and that's how Bigfoot kind of stuck. And then later on, it turned out it was one of the construction workers with a wooden, whatever thing kind of method. It's the same thing with Nessie, like that famous picture of the Loch Ness Monster. Yeah, later on, and this guy confessed that it was a toy submarine with like clay that he made like the neck of the dinosaur. Oh wow! And then and he just took a picture of it to make it look like it was in the middle of the lake, but it was like literally like on the edge of the water. It was a little toy submarine.
Oh wow!
But
so there's no Loch Ness Monster.
I mean, I didn't say there wasn't. I'm just saying that picture was not authentic. Yeah.
And that I have a 7-year-old Adrian. He's loved dinosaurs like to the core, which I bought pretty much everything that has to do with Jurassic Park. They're thinking of doing something like that, right? Like trying to bring some of these extinct animals.
I've heard a little bit about it. But it's kind of like most things where it's gonna be hard to do that. You know what I mean? Because, like in the movie they use I think chicken eggs or something like that to do that. So I mean they clone sheep. So frog eggs or whatever. Yeah. So it'd be kind of hard to do that. Yeah.
So, I would say an episode or 2 episodes ago, these guys right here were trying to pretty much force me to eat. Like I was telling you before we started that they want me to try different shit other than meat, or chicken, or pork. And they're talking about hunting rabbit and squirrel. Are you a person that's interested in eating different?
I mean, I'll try anything once. You know what I mean? Like I've had balut, like the Filipino,
I've tried that.
Whatever. I had it. I mean, I'm not gonna, like, it tasted good. It was just a texture thing for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What is that?
Balut is a fertilized duck egg that they like hard boil, and so it has like
the baby chick.
It has like the baby duck in there. I mean, it tastes like a really good like chicken soup. That's what it tastes like. But it's just, for me, it was a texture thing. I have a thing about texture.
It's like a 100-year-old egg.
Yeah, exactly, like that. But I mean, I'll try anything once. I don't knock other people's like cuisine because people grew up eating that kind of stuff, and you got to respect different cultures, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'll try anything once. As I said, I don't like liver. I've tried liver. I don't like it.
I think that's common though. I mean, there's some people that like it.
Yeah, I mean, I've had rabbit. Rabbit's good. I've had frogs. Frogs are good. Alligator's good. Rattlesnake. Quails, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, bison. Ostrich, it's just I'll try anything once. It's just trying to get out of like my wife is responsible for that because before I met her, my idea of like variety was Jack in the Box, McDonald's, you know what I mean? She's the one that kind of got me trying different things, so
that's cool.
Is she Mexican too?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is she from HP or no?
Well, that's the thing. She's from HP, but she didn't grow up in HP.
Oh, okay.
Because I grew up in HP. She lived in HP, but she went to the private school. And so she like went to private school in HP, and then she went to private school in Bellflower or Lakewood. Okay. So she didn't really. I was in the streets, like skateboarding and riding my bike and doing all that kind of stuff. And she slept there, and then her friends were in Pico Rivera or Whittier or whatever. So but she's the one that got me to be a little more adventurous with food.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, these guys are talking about want to go hunting. Would you hunt your own? Like, would you shoot?
I don't know that I could.
A rabbit and eat it after?
I mean, I had this thing about like when I was a kid and going to Mexico and seeing like my grandma, go bring that chicken, and then seeing them kill it. so I have a thing about like I don't know that I could eat something that I saw when it was alive, because they were so disconnected about where our food comes from. You know what I mean? So like I respect people that hunt fish and gut and clean their own stuff. I respect that. I just don't know that I would be able to kill something, you know what I mean? Because I feel bad when I like step on like a slug or like a roly-poly, you know what I mean?
That's me, man.
Yeah.
See?
So, but I mean, you can go and just, you don't have to shoot. You could just try the meat,
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys kill it, chop it or whatever, and just bring it.
It's like, because I told her, like, there's so much, like, for example, jackrabbit.
Yeah.
There's so many, right? So they're like, kill as many as you want.
Yeah.
Because there's so many.
Yeah,
right?
right.
So I'm like, have you guys ever gone hunting? He's never gone. So I'm like, let's go hunting. And then he's like, well, why are you going to kill something and then just let it? Okay, well, we can eat it.
Yeah. No, and then,
like, what?
No, and then, I mean, you know, a lot of times, like the most conservation-minded people are the hunters and, like, the people that are fishing because they know, like, hey, like, this species is overrunning this area. It's eating the food from this other animal, so we got to, like, control the population, and that's why they let you hunt, you know, during certain seasons, right? Like, oh, you can hunt rabbit, you can hunt quail, you can hunt deer, you can whatever, because they're like, the population is numbered enough where you can afford to, like, cull the herd, right? You know, kill a certain amount of animals. And like I said, I mean, you know, like, you got to eat, man, you know, and I'm sure that, like, for a hunter, there's nothing better than eating something that you went out there, you stalked, and, you know, you killed.
That's what I was trying to get at. Like, let's go out there, have a good time, see if you catch something, and if you catch it, we eat it.
Yeah, maybe you'll catch a cold. You know, you'll still catch something.
You'll catch some.
Catch COVID.
I don't want to catch that.
So, man, we can keep going. Like, this is.
We can definitely keep going.
This is.
We can definitely keep going.
We probably need to do another episode.
It's been amazing.
Part
you
two
know,
of this for sure.
And
we definitely need to do a munchies episode.
That's what I was about to say. We need to go out. Maybe a place that you would want us to try, or a place that we would want you to try. Nothing about killing anything. We can go somewhere where it's already.
We'll go hunt some Johnny's pastrami.
There you go.
We go hunt Johnny.
Perfect. That'll work.
No, thank you for having me on, man. It was fun. Like I said, I dug the vibe when you hit me up. I was like, let me look these fools up, you know, because I don't know what I'm getting into, you know. And it was cool because it was just, you know, you dudes just chopping it up, having a good conversation. Yeah. I've had fun. You know, it's been a good conversation, and just keep doing what you're doing, man. You know, it eventually. The success and all that stuff will come later. Just do like, that's what the best advice somebody gave me was like, dude, do it because you want to do it, and then every time you do it, just make sure you did it a little better than the last time. Yeah. And as long as you're doing that,
you'll be all right.
You'll be all right.
Cool.
But this won't be the last. It's the first, but it won't be the last. And you know, thank you for the praises, and you know, we hope to have you again here. And not only here, but, you know, our munchies. We're gonna figure out a name, you know, because he ended up finding out that there is a munchies already out there. Yeah. It's like
there's a couple of them.
Yeah.
But we would love for you to be a part of that, and you know, same goes out to you, man. Much success.
Thank you, man.
To, you know, your shows, your journeys, your adventures, your history making also, because your history también, you know, so we appreciate, you know, the love, the support, and again, Celo, let the people know.
Subscribe, hit that like. You know, we're here. If you need anything, we're here.
Appreciate that, man.
You know, anything you need, you know, we'll be there. If you want us to hit any spots with you, we're there. You know, or whatever you need.
Go check them out.
You know.
Any words?
No?
Oh no!
I mean, we can keep going.
So yeah, exactly. But we were gonna start off by introducing Mr. Howser to our discovery of the red Coronas, the Coronas on the rag, as what we like to call them. But on his trip, you know, to the UK, he said that, you know, what you mentioned was
currently on a cleanse.
And once I described what it was, he was like, you know what, let me hold on that, maybe for some other time. And we were gonna have a Corona on the rag. Obviously, we were gonna have one too, but because he's on the chill, you know, with the alcohol, we're gonna leave it for some other night. Maybe when he comes back, we'll have.
Maybe after Johnny's.
But again, thank you so much for being here. We hopefully you enjoyed the time as much as we enjoyed your time here. Sure. And I am Eddie G.
Ralphie G.
DJ Cello.
Foo Howser.
Yes, this is Yes Indeed Podcast, baby. Thank you so much. Have a good night. God bless.
Out.